Evening. I hereby call to order the June 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Gaithersburg Historic District Commission. For our roll call, please answer present when I call your name. Planner 2, Chris Berger.
Present.
Is Community Planning Manager Chris Mann available?
Greg is on vacation.
Greg Mann? I'm sorry, he's on vacation. Okay. And Assistant Attorney Eric Perla.
Present.
Commissioner Mark Feinstein.
Present.
Commissioner Rudy Morgan.
Present.
Commissioner and Vice Chairman John Roddy.
Present.
Commissioner Mary Jo LaFrance.
Present.
Myself and Commissioner and Chairman Diamantolis is present. We have a quorum. And next is our preliminary statement, which is as follows. This commission is empowered to meet and act under Article 12 of the City Code of Gaithersburg. The technical qualifications of the staff of this commission and the members of this commission are on file with the City of Gaithersburg, are available on request to any applicant, and are hereby made a part of the legal record of each and every application heard today. Each application heard today is considered on its own merits and is not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. Okay, does anyone have any conflicts of interest on any application that we're hearing tonight? If so, please raise your hand or verbally indicate so.
I would just like to disclose.
Yes, please.
I took it upon myself to take a walk of Park Avenue, and take a walk of Park Avenue. Is that better? And I bumped into Amelia Sesma Barrett, her husband, and her children.
Okay.
I explained who I was, introduced myself, explained I was not allowed to talk about the application, and she understood that completely. Several other people waved at me and said hello to me because that's the kind of neighborhood it is. But other than that, nothing happened that shouldn't.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for disclosing it. Okay. Chris, am I correct that there's no meeting minutes to review?
Correct.
Very good. All right. Just a note for everybody, any member from the public who wishes to speak on one of tonight's applications will be given 3 minutes to address the HDC from the podium at the reserved time. But we ask that you refrain from speaking out from the audience and that you take your private conversations outside of the chamber councils. First up is a historic area work permit, which is HIST 8537-2020, which is a one-year extension request for the roof and front door replacement at 321 Firehouse Lane in the MXD Mixed-Use Development Zone. May we have an introduction from staff, please?
Yes. In 2020, the HDC approved the roof and door replacement at the Kentlands Firehouse with 3 conditions. The HOP expires next month, and the homeowner has yet to install the front door because she said she had been able to make some repairs to it and prolong its life. But now she would like to buy the replacement door and would like the one-year extension because the door won't arrive until after the expiration next month. So section 24-227.1E of the City Code states the following: if work on an approved project issuance has not been completed within 2 years of the date of its issuance or within time frames stated in the approval, the certificate of approval shall expire. A single one-year extension may be granted by the HDC upon written request. If the extension is not approved, the historic area work permit becomes null and void. So are there any questions related to that?
I would just like to know what kind of door did they decide on, since we gave them 3 choices.
Yeah, she decided on the steel door.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, next then is the public is, the applicant is not here. You're
Correct.
representing. Okay. The next is the public is now invited to speak. In-person participants, please line up at the podium to be sworn in, if there are any, on this particular application. I would not think that would be desirable or concern of anybody's. And then I would assume there's nobody in from Zoom who's interested in speaking.
Let me double check that, and no one has their hand raised.
It's not a big issue, I would
I'm
think.
sorry,
Yes.
I can't hear you very well. Can
Okay.
you all speak up louder? I missed
Okay.
exactly everything that you just said.
They couldn't hear either.
Okay. All right. What I'm saying right now is for this particular application, which is just the HIST, the 8537, which is just an extension of the request for the roof and the front door, which was approved a year ago, but now it's running out. They have a time limit on acting on it. So we're going to vote to extend that or not.
Thank
So
you.
if you have any concerns about it, you're free to come and speak for or against it. Okay, and I hear and see no one. Okay, very good. And anybody from Zoom?
No.
Okay, very good. All right. Next then, I guess then, is from our commissioners. When I call your name, please state your thoughts and questions regarding this issue. Commissioner Feinstein.
I have no issues.
Okay. Commissioner Morgan.
No issue.
Commissioner Roddy.
No issues.
Commissioner Alphonse.
I think we need to be lenient in a time where, sending away for things and shipping is such a problem.
That's a good point. Very good point. Thank you. And Commissioner Ventola says, I have no concerns whatsoever, so it appears that it is a 5-0.
So could we have a motion and then a vote, please?
Thank you very much. So yes, thank you. So can somebody give a motion to approve or deny this application?
I move that the Historic District Commission extend HIST-8537-2021 for 1 year to July 22nd, 2023, in accordance with Section 24-227.1, parentheses E of the City Code.
Very good. Anybody
second it.
second? Very good, thank you. All right, so let's take a vote now. All right, so when I call your name, please tell me aye if you support the motion, nay if you don't, abstain if you wish. Commissioner Feinstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Commissioner Roddy.
Aye.
Commissioner LaFrance.
Aye.
And Commissioner Ventola says aye, so that does pass officially, 5-0. Thank you, Chris. Next then is HIST 9312-2020, which is to reconstruct a chimney at 15 Brookes Avenue in the R90 medium-density residential zone. May we have an introduction from staff?
Yes, the subject property is contributing to the Brookes, Russell, and Walker Historic District and comes before the HDC in accordance with Section 24-227A of the City Code. This is an aerial of the property. The Historic District guidelines for the Brookes, Russell, and Walker Historic District and individually designated sites apply. The guidelines note the following on materials seen here on this page. Historic home is a living example of the past. It can offer the public a view of the styles and materials from an age of quality and craftsmanship. These homes serve as an inspiration to future generations to strive for beauty and quality. In the first bullet point, the historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize a property shall be avoided. And the second bullet point, deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, texture, and other visual qualities, and where possible, materials. Replacement of missing features shall be substantiated by documentary, physical, or pictorial evidence. So what they would like to do is demolish this existing chimney that you see on this in this picture here. It's in poor condition, and the applicant would like to rebuild it exactly it is now, with one difference in that the bricks will not be painted, and it'll be left as exposed brick and mortar. Had the applicant simply rebuilt the chimney in kind and painted the brick, they would not have required a historic area work permit, but they're not repainting it, and that's our preference because, as we all know, paint ruins brick and traps moisture. So, any questions?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Okay, the applicant is not here, I understand?
Correct.
And doesn't really need to be. You explained it very well, and it's very simple. Okay, so the public is now invited to speak. In-person participants, please line up at the podium to be sworn in. And I hear and see no one. Okay. And then is there anybody on Zoom waiting to speak upon this issue?
No one has their hand raised.
Okay, very good then. Next then I'll go to the commissioners. When I call your name, please state your thoughts and questions for the applicant, which of course Chris is representing. So Commissioner Feinstein?
I can't remember, was there a sample of the brick that you're looking for?
No sample. It's they said it'll match the size of the existing brick. It'll be red.
I thought they said 4 by 8.
Yeah, I think they did give the exact size.
That's nominal, not actual.
So oversized brick?
You know what, I could say that it sounds like it may be, because 3 and 2 feet, or I mean 3 and 8 inches
Should be,
versus.
yeah, that sounds like an over, I mean, that was my
sounds-
main concern.
Yeah.
Like I'd want it to be a nominal brick.
That's a great question, is do we not have to replace in kind as far as the size of the brick? So is this the same size brick?
From what I understand, it'll be the same size, but you can also add a condition to require it to be the same size as the
Yeah.
existing brick, if that's your preference.
That was my only
Good point.
comment.
Yeah. I have similar comment. It should be same kind in size or profile and same color. I mean, I understand not painting the brick, that's a good thing. But keeping the color close to the original brick and the size would be a recommended thing that we want to do.
This doesn't appear to be wire cut, maybe it's just was, and it's just aged. Do you want to have that as a condition also, that it cannot be wire cut brick?
That's a good question.
It's hard to tell with
Yes,
the
I can
paint.
tell, yeah.
Well, but to me,
Yeah,
it
it's
looks like it's
very
very
difficult
aged.
to-
So it wouldn't, to me, it does not look industrial, wire cuts for
No.
industrial, so I would,
Yeah.
that's up to you guys, if you want to add that, or to whomever's going to be making the motion. All right, both, do you have anything further, Rudy?
And the mother joint should be very tight. Just looking at the picture, I can see too much, it shouldn't be wide, it should be very tight. To give it that feel of age, just make it very tight. I mean, looking at the photograph, I can tell the size of it. That's the only thing I have.
Okay, all right, very good. Commissioner Roddy?
I've never been a big fan of painting the brick, and I sincerely doubt that chimney had painted brick when it was constructed. So I have no problem with the application as stated.
Very good. Commissioner Franz?
I agree with the proportion suggestions that our other commissioners said.
Okay, very good. And I have no concerns, other than what's everybody's already brought to the table. Okay, so generally we go to Commissioners' Open Forum, but it doesn't sound like anyone else has any concerns. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve or deny this historic area work permit?
Would one of you guys like to do it since you had suggestions?
Are you ready?
Okay. I move that the Historic District Commission, based on the exhibit submitted and the staff reported findings and recommendation, grant HRST 9312-2022 Reconstruct chimney, finding it to be in compliance with 24-227-2 of the City Code.
May I have a second?
I second it.
Wait,
With the recommendation,
With the conditions.
the
Okay.
condition
All right.
of matching the existing brick in color and in size and profile.
And the
And
mortar
with tight
joints.
mullins.
And
Right.
what's that again?
Tight mullins, you said?
Yeah, the
Yes.
jump, the
The
motor
mortar
jump,
joints is
yeah,
what-
yeah.
Mark said, okay, all right. Anything further as far as any other conditions? Would you like to restate?
I would second it as conditioned, yes.
Wonderful, okay, so let's go for a vote. Aye if you support the motion, nay if you don't, abstain if you wish. Commissioner Feinstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan?
Aye.
Commissioner Roddy?
Aye.
Commissioner LaFrance?
Aye.
Commissioner Ventola says aye, so that passes 5-0. Motion passes. Okay, very good, thank you. Next is our third Hawk Historic Area Work Permit, which is HIST-8570-2020, which is the retroactive review of chimney removal at 5 Walker Avenue in the R90 medium density residential zone. May we have introduction from staff, please?
Yes, the subject property is contributing to the Brookes, Russell, and Walker Historic District. The application comes before the HDC in accordance with Section 24-227A of the City Code. And again, the Brookes, Russell, and Walker Historic District guidelines apply, same as the previous application for material, so I will not reread that. But the homeowners seek retroactive approval for the removal of a chimney stack that collapsed during a re-roofing project in July 2020. So the top photos from 2019 Google Street View photo, you can see barely with my cursor, there's the chimney that fell down, and the bottom from 2021. This is how it looks without the chimney. And the chimney fell onto the one-story addition on the back, the kitchen addition, and punctured a hole in the roof that forced the homeowners to vacate the property for some time. The roofing company who finished the job covered over the removed chimney, and that's what you see on the bottom photo. According to the homeowners, the chimney's firebox already was enclosed by the time they moved into the home, and they did not wish to restore the chimney because it wasn't functional in the first place. They said that the chimney shaft, the one that collapsed, extends all the way to the basement, and they got an estimate 2 years ago that it would cost $4,000 to rebuild this chimney stack. That's included as Exhibit 4 in the record. They also noted that neither their home insurer nor the home insurer for the roofing company would pay to reconstruct the chimney stack. So staff supports the applicant's request not to rebuild the chimney. The loss of the chimney has no negligible effect on the historic significance of the home and the surroundings. And there is still one chimney stack present on the roof, as you can see here. Though we would certainly prefer that the collapsed chimney is rebuilt, we understand the price is steep to reconstruct a feature that wasn't being used in the first place. And staff also proposed the idea of a faux chimney stack, but the applicant said that it costs just as much as a real chimney stack. So we had a couple of late additions to the record, which I'll go through quickly. This is a email from Judy and Chris Christensen, who couldn't be here tonight. They are the homeowners across the street at 5 Walker Avenue, and they provided photos of the house, including one from 1979 that showed the chimney stack, but this one from straight on, you can see it's not even visible. And we also have a petition from the neighbors, Walker Avenue and nearby residents who signed, and I count 33 names who are in support of the retroactive approval of the removed chimney. And so joining us tonight, we have one of the property owners, Colette Broussard. If you can come to the podium, state your name for the record.
Hello, I'm Colette Broussard.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Please add anything that you'd like to add to help us decide the outcome.
Okay.
Chairman, if I could take
Yes, ma'am.
her
Yes, yes, sir.
oath.
Yeah, okay, take the oath.
If you could raise
Wonderful.
your right hand, please. Do you swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony that you will give in this matter tonight will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say that we love our neighborhood and we love our home and we love the preservation aspect. And we just went through redoing the roof. We just went through repainting the entire home so we can maintain its historic beauty. And when the chimney fell, we were surprised. And I had somebody look at the chimney before the roofers came, and they told me it was okay. So I feel like I did everything I was supposed to do, and that the roofers didn't check that chimney to make sure, because I figured they were experts. They should know as well. And they had not been on the roof. They did their estimate virtually with the Google, because it was during the pandemic. Or, we're still in the pandemic, but it was during the beginning of the pandemic. And so when they came out to actually get on my roof, I would have assumed they would have done a good look and to make sure that what was going on in my roof, any of the damage or any rotten stuff, and that's what happened. There was stuff that was rotten underneath the chimney. When they pulled it up, the chimney fell over. So, and I'll tell you, like I told the neighbors when I walked around to get signatures, the front chimney is, you can see that. It's the charm of the home. The rear chimney really didn't, it didn't stand out to me. It was the front chimney. If the front chimney fell, I'd be all over finding a way to replace it. So, and then my other half here is Giselle. We live in the home together, and I just can't say enough that I'm sorry that it happened. We never planned to remove it, but we really think financially it wouldn't behoove us to pay for rebuilding it when we have other things we need to do to maintain the home. So thank you for the time.
Wonderful. Please stay where you are. What we're going to do is ask to see if there's anybody from the public, and if there is, then please step aside if there is. If there isn't, then we'll go around with the commission, and then to ask you questions in particular. So I'll next then ask, the public is invited to speak. In-person participants, please line up at the podium to be sworn in. If you have anything positive or negative to say about this particular application, someone is coming, so thank you. Please feel free to sit if you like. Please state your name and then wait to be sworn in.
Hi, my name's Ed Richley. I live at 14 Walker.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I recognize you.
If you could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony that you will give in this matter tonight is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I just want to point out that several of the houses on our street have lost their second chimneys. Mine, for example. And I'm not even sure how you'd build back a second chimney, because I know in some cases the chimney's actually a burden on the house because it's been like removed from the, in some houses, it's been removed from the basement, and it's just there from like the second floor up, and that's putting stress on everything. I don't see a point in forcing a rebuild of this. And it's unfortunate, but it happens, and it's not really impacting the look and feel of anything. And I would imagine the owners could use those resources to do other things to preserve the structure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public, please? Feel free. Okay, I see no one else. Let's go. Is there anybody from Zoom online interested in speaking?
And I see no one with their hand raised.
Okay. Do we need to, and at this point, have the video shown to help people at home know what to do?
You could, if you
Why
would
not?
like to.
Sure, why not?
If tech team-
team, please play the video.
Via Zoom, and you're on a desktop or a laptop.
I don't think we
You
can
wish
hear
to make
you.
a public comment. We can't currently see or hear you. What you need to do, please, is wiggle your mouse around and look towards the bottom center of your screen. You should see a raised hand button. Go ahead and click on that now for us, please. Alternatively, if you've connected in via telephone, you can press *9.
Okay, I see one person with their hand raised. If the tech team can pull up Lisa Schuler.
Welcome.
Hi, I was just following the instructions to try to learn how to use the tools, so ignore me right now.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for your honesty. I hope you learned well.
Ms. Schuler, could you please raise your right hand?
She's not going
No,
to speak.
she's not.
I'm not going to do that again.
So she's not speaking.
Oh, she's not.
No,
Okay.
she did it just to figure out what to
I
do,
gotcha.
and she didn't realize she went live.
I understand that.
And that's all I see.
That's it? No one else? Okay, very good. All right. Then let's hear from the commissioners. When I call your name, please state your thoughts and questions for the applicant. So first up is Commissioner Feinstein.
I actually have no questions or issues.
Okay, Commissioner Morgan.
I have a question. You stated that the roof vendor contractor gave you an estimate based on Google. He went on Google and then took the shot of your roof. And then when he came to the site, he realized that there were certain condition that was different from what he.
No, sir.
No, the roof, he did the chimney and the roof had other issues, right? That's what you stated.
Yeah, but they did not check.
They didn't
were-
check it.
They were doing their work and the chimney fell.
Okay.
They did not know. They didn't even attempt to make sure that everything on either one of the chimneys was okay.
Did it charge you for it? I'm kind of curious. Was the price different from the Google estimate?
I didn't,
at the actual
I had to
estimate?
pay them for the work they
You shouldn't
did.
have.
I shouldn't have, but I had
Yeah.
to because they threatened me. And then I
Right.
had to bring in another
Sorry for bringing
contractor
that
to
up.
finish the
I just,
roof.
I could, because this is what I do for a living, and I can just tell what happened when they do that.
Yes.
And the next time you should hold them to the estimate that you got from the Google, and let them do the work, actual work. And then they would learn their mistake. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't.
I did.
Got a good
they-
roofer, you guys can.
No, they were going to do it for the price that
Okay.
they agreed to.
Okay.
But when the chimney fell,
Okay.
and they said, "Oh, we will take care of it because we made it happen." And then when they started to do that work, they weren't following the protocol that the historic district and the building commissioner told them to do, which was before you start work, you have to have us come back in and inspect and make sure everything is
Exactly.
ready so the work can be done. And they came in one day shortly after that, and they said, "Oh, we don't need to do that. We'll just start the work." And I said, "Stop." And I went to my homeowners.
Okay, you're not gonna use them again, right? You're not gonna
No,
recommend-
I'm not gonna
Great,
use
great.
them again.
I commend you for doing an excellent work on the property, and also for reaching out to your neighbors and getting consensus and a concurrence on what you're doing. That's a good thing. And other than that, I don't have any further question and comment or concern.
Thank you very much. Next, Commissioner Roddy.
I have no questions or concerns with this.
Commissioner LaFrance.
I would just say that I think right now was bad timing. Obviously, you've invested a great deal in your home, and someday, if the mood strikes you, you could always put it back.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's photographic evidence that it was there, so, and that's all my comments on that.
Thank you. Next and last, I don't have any concern with that chimney no longer being part of your house as far as the aesthetics or the historicity. No concerns whatsoever. I do have a concern about the idea that you have an open flue, chimney flue in your attic now. So can you help me understand the potential risk of having that flue be used in any way, shape, or form? That is, I read the information and I thought that it was only down in the basement, no access to it in any other place. So where were the connections into that chimney flue? Was it an open firebox?
There was
Or
never.
an oil burning stove or something?
It probably was a fire burning stove, or, I mean, a wood burning stove,
Okay.
or a coal burning stove.
Right, okay.
Which was not there, and everything is walled over underneath where the mantles are.
Okay.
So there's no access to it. And when we originally moved in, I did get some people to come in to tell me, could I put a fireplace in? And they told me they don't think that any of those were fireplaces ever, that there were just small areas for stoves to be in there to connect. So you'd really have to go through some stuff to make to open it up and put a stove in there.
Right. My big concern is if and when you guys ever sell, whatever reason, let's just say 100 years from now, I'm certainly not going to be around. But my point is that somebody could tap into that thinking that it is a great place because there was an existing flue to tap into it. And at that point in time, to me, that's my big fear, is that they won't know better. And then they can wind up burning the house down with them in it. And that's my big fear. So I don't know what to say other than, is there any way for you to perhaps have some kind of permanent signage on the connector area that was once there? Like you said, it's walled over, but it was probably a wood-burning stove in the basement. Is there any way for you
No, there
to-
wasn't anything in the
Wasn't in
basement.
the basement? It was
No,
just the
because you
first
can't.
floor?
You don't even know it's the chimney in there. It's
Okay,
just
that's
there's
good.
no way to
So there was
tell.
no connection there?
No,
Okay.
and there are two, what I'd call, they're not fake mantles, but there's two mantles that are where the chimneys were from in the house.
Okay.
But it's all walled over underneath.
Right, but then what would stop somebody, this is my big fear, what would
From
stop
putting a
somebody-
hole in there?
Yeah, just because they have a flue, they have a chimney, and they would like to have a fireplace in their place.
I don't know that they have I don't know, maybe I don't know the terminology, but I don't know that it has a flue. It has a
Well,
a
the chimney
stack.
itself is what I'm referring to.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's, so.
All right, I'm
that's
going
my
to
big
let
fear.
Giselle speak. She wants
Oh,
to
yes,
speak,
hello.
so let me
Okay,
let
welcome,
her talk.
and please state your name, but then we're going to have you sworn in,
I'm
please.
Giselle Rivera.
Okay, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
To speak
Welcome.
to your question.
Yes, please,
And
thank
the
you.
safety of any
That's my big
future
concern,
resident.
yeah.
There is not an existing flue.
The roof has been completely sealed. The stack has been completely sealed. There is no venting that allows for any construction that would create a hazard. If anything, we could further brick. There's no access on the first floor, second floor, or third, and then everything is capped and closed.
So you capped it. How did you guys cap it?
Once the roof was completely finished, the stack itself was capped and sealed.
May I ask
Brick.
with what? It was bricked?
Yes.
Okay, good, all right. Well, if somebody does tap into that chimney, I'm referring to it as a flue, 50 years from now without realizing it, that's my big fear, is that it could wind up killing all of them. And so is there any way, does anybody know of any way to?
I
Yes,
have a
yes, please.
suggestion.
Yeah, please.
We could certainly create a document to be added to
That's a great idea.
the portfolio for the recording that this
That's a wonderful
particular
idea.
flue is not a working fireplace.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Because I do consider it part of our purview. We're very concerned about overreach. And I believe that anything that would affect the historic structure, such as burning it to the ground, I think is in our purview. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Certainly.
But I do have this fear that things get passed on and sold and resold, and no one will ever know. And at that point in time, it then could be, without them realizing, life-threatening. So, wonderful.
Certainly,
That's
the
a wonderful-
recorder's office would be the place for that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful suggestion, so thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Okay, all right. Does anybody have, for Commissioners Open Forum, any other questions or thoughts before we go to vote? Thank you so much. Okay, very good. I think that's it for us. Next then is, let's go for motion, right?
I would like to move, I think. I move that we approve HIST 85702020 retroactive review of chimney removal at 5 Walker Avenue. Let's see, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony, and the staff report findings and recommendation, grant, as I said, HIST 85702020 retroactive review of chimney removal finding to be in compliance with 24-227.2 of the city code.
Would you guys be interested in adding a requirement that somewhere in the documentation of the house has to have the notification that the flue is not active? That it's
With
open?
one condition, that documentation is notifying whatever next owners in perpetuity.
Does that sound acceptable to you guys? Okay,
Absolutely.
all right, may we have a second?
Yes, you have.
Wonderful, okay, so let's take a vote. Aye, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Feinstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan?
Aye.
Commissioner Roddy?
Aye.
Commissioner LaFrance?
Aye.
Commissioner Ventola says aye. Passes 5-0. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
now that it's closed, I want to personally say I cannot believe they did that to you, those workers. They have insurance. They can't work in this city without having the
They have
insurance. What
insurance.
they did to you is
Yeah.
absolutely awful.
They have insurance, but none of the insurance companies cover chimneys.
No, the contractors.
But
It's
that's
only
just
contractor
it.
insurance.
They can't work in the city without having liability insurance. And it's a shame what they did to you. It's none of our purview to say what you should do at this point in time. Like I said, it's already closed. That's why I'm speaking, because I don't want to have it on the record officially for what we decided upon. But it's awful what they did to you. It's not right, and they're not allowed to, is really what I'm saying.
Thank you.
But at least we, for what we could have done, we helped. So,
Yes.
thank you very much. It was very nice meeting you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. All right, next then is,
Yeah, you could say that.
sorry?
They're on the next. They have the next
Yes.
item as well.
Oh, right, well, by the way, you're coming to one of my favorite things, and that's tax credits. It's always been my favorite. So, All right, next thing we have tax credit application, which is HIST 9282-2022, which is historic tax credit certification at 5 Walker Avenue in the R90 medium density residential zone. May we have an introduction from staff?
Yes, in 2021, the applicant paid a painting company $11,500 in 7 installations to pressure wash, scrape, sand, caulk, prime, and paint the house. The work did not require a historic area work permit because it was considered maintenance and repair. And then, as we learned in 2020, the applicant paid 2 different contractors a total of $14,211.42 to replace the roof. They are now seeking $6,427.86 in historic tax credits for all the projects. And you'll notice that there's 2 potential motions for this to take into account the previous application. You approve that, so you would, if you're so inclined, you would follow the second motion, which covers both aspects of this project. And we have a number of before and after photos. So this is a before photo and after the chimney fell. So you can see that the roof was covered for some time, and there's where the chimney was. And this is a detail to show you the house before the painting took place. And now we're to the after photos. So before and after, and some more after photos. And these are staff photos from a couple weeks ago to show you how it looks now. Any questions for the applicant, Colette Broussard?
I just realized who you were by your house. I thought you see on your porch.
Okay, you as the applicant are invited to say anything further on
The
this
only
issue.
thing I want to say is the stuff that's in the driveway is gone now.
I'll bet you liked that photo, didn't you?
No, I just want to say that we love the neighborhood and we want to maintain our home because we love the historic place. We just love it. So.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful house. Okay, so now the public is invited to speak. In-person participants, please line up at the podium to be sworn in. If you guys have any things to say for or against this tax credit. And I hear and see no one. Okay, anybody on Zoom, Chris?
No one with their hand raised.
Wonderful. Okay, very good. Next then is, let's hear from the commissioners. When I call your name, please state your thoughts and questions for the applicant, if any. Commissioner Feinstein?
No questions. I commend you for the work you've done to preserve the house.
Commissioner Morgan?
I concur. No comments. I think
Okay.
it deserves it.
Commissioner Roddy?
I agree 100%.
Commissioner LaFrance?
Yes.
Yes. No comment.
Agree.
Okay. And myself, Commissioner Ventola, says I have no concerns whatsoever. I'm delighted when it comes to the vote on this. All right, we don't need an open forum. There's nothing really much to worry about. So next is, may I have a motion to approve or deny this tax credit application?
I'll do it. I move that the Historic District Commission certify that the painting work done and the roofing work completed at 5 Walker Avenue is eligible for the Montgomery County Historic Tax Credit Program.
Second?
Second.
Okay, let's take a vote. Aye, nay, or abstaining in support of this tax credit application. Commissioner Feinstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan?
Aye.
Commissioner Roddy?
Aye.
Commissioner LaFrance?
Aye.
Commissioner Ventola says aye. 5-0, passes. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And we're delighted to help you.
Thank
on
you.
this.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a demolition permit application, which is SP-9149-2021. It is a demolition of 4 buildings 50 years or older at 9, 11, and 15 Park Avenue, as well as 201 Brookes Avenue in the CBD Central Business District Zone. May we have an introduction from staff, please?
Yes, first, a point of clarification. The agenda previously had both the demolition review and Curtis review. Planning staff has received direction only to proceed with the demolition review at tonight's meeting with the plan to reschedule the courtesy review. So, as the chair said, we will focus on 4 buildings tonight: 9 Park Avenue, 11 Park Avenue, 15 Park Avenue, and 201 Brookes Avenue, and we're going to have better views of those buildings with drone footage. So, we are going down Park Avenue heading south. This is 15 Park Avenue. There's an empty lot at 13 Park Avenue. This is 11 Park, and this is 9 Park Avenue. And we're heading towards Diamond Avenue, and now we're heading north. So we're missing 9, that's covered by trees. Here's 11 Park, empty lot at 13, 15 Park Avenue, and then 201 Brookes Avenue. This 4-story building is Park Station. There's a few 3-story apartment buildings here from the 50s and 60s. Again, we're going down Park Avenue, a different view. This is the garage to 15 Park Avenue and parking lot. Empty lot, shared driveway between 9 and 11, lots behind both of them. This is a rear view coming from Summit Avenue. And we're looking at the properties on the opposite side of Park Avenue. A few of them are residential. A few of them are used as offices, commercial uses. And our last view is going to be a grand circular sweep of the whole area. So we're looking at all of Old Town.
You don't have quite the visualization of the actual neighborhood of the house on the left. Oh, there you go. Sort of.
People don't live in a drone. They live on the street.
Yeah, there's a lot of houses
Hold on,
over
everybody,
there.
hold on. Whoa, hold on.
Okay,
hold on,
sorry.
Hold on. You'll get a chance to speak. Okay, please don't talk out. First of all, we have to have you on record. We have to have you sworn in. So you're welcome to speak. You all have 3 minutes each when it's time. Thank you.
So the section of the code that applies tonight, first of all, is section 24-231, the demolition procedures for non-designated buildings and structures. I'll point out under here, A1, this is a concept site plan that is submitted, so the Historic District Commission may review a site plan or amendment thereto in lieu of a demolition permit if the property is proposed for redevelopment, which is the case here. The buildings are more than 50 years old. And then going down here under D, the HDC's roles here. They can either issue the demolition permit, or where the HDC determines that any site, group of site, structure, or object has a pending designation application, or if no such application is active, has the reasonable probability of being so designated upon HDC petition to the mayor or council, or in the case of properties that have been designated is the last one. So when the HDC determines that a historic resource has the reasonable probability of being so designated, unless there's an active petition for such designation, is before the mayor and council. The withholding of the demo permit is conditioned on the commission filing a petition to the mayor and council by resolution to initiate the designation within 30 calendar days. The mayor and council must determine to accept the resolution of petition before the designation process may commence under section 24-226, which we'll get to in a moment. And if the mayor and council determines not to accept the petition of the resolution, the city manager may, even if a demolition permit has been withheld, issue the demo permit immediately. So now we'll go to...
I'm sorry, but I cannot hear you. Can you speak up louder?
Could we see if tech can please turn up the volume of our microphones? Not everyone in the audience can hear us.
So under section 24-226, we have the criteria for designation under B, and I won't read them all, but it's historical and cultural significance, And then under number 2 here, architectural and design significance. So there's a total of 10 criteria that a building can meet, one or all of those criteria. Next, we'll go through the additional items that have been received into the record. Let's see. First of all, we had 4 late additions. The first one was an email from Amelia and Matthew Barrett, and they also attached a Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties form. So that was added to the record and submitted to the commission earlier today. Next, we had an email from Lisa Schuler, and that was sent in today, and that was shared with the commission. These are photos that were provided by Commissioner LaFrance this afternoon, so I'll quickly go through these. This is 15 Park Avenue. This is 11 Park Avenue. This is 9 Park Avenue. A detail of 9 Park Avenue, another detail. And this is 201 Brookes Avenue, 201 Brookes. And this is a parking lot for 15 Park Avenue. Still from the parking lot. This is down Park Avenue. This is one of the properties, not the subject property tonight, on the opposite side of the street. Again, opposite side of the street. And this is the corner of Brookes and Park. And looking down Park Avenue. And this is the empty lot at 13 Park. And this is from Diamond Avenue facing north. And then finally, this came in after 5 p.m. today, and I printed this out for the commissioners. This is an email from Judith Christensen. So with that, I will turn it over to the development team. If you can please come to the presentation desk. And we will have a presentation from Matt Bonin of Gray and Pape, and if everyone could introduce themselves.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm not sure you're coming over the mic.
Is that any better?
Yes.
Okay.
Just please state your name, and then we're going to have you sworn in.
My name is Matthew Bonin.
And where you work, I guess.
Gray and Pape.
I'm sorry?
Gray and Pape, Cultural Heritage.
Thank you so much.
If you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Welcome, and please start your presentation.
Sure. And before we get started, I would just like to say that I am a recent commission member for the City of Frederick Historic Preservation Commission. I served for 6 years, most recently as the chair for 3 years. All that is to say, I have a full appreciation of this evening, of what you all have to consider. It's not always an easy decision, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So we can go ahead and get started here. So it's similar photos that have already been presented. You can see this site plan of the properties in question, and it goes on down to the various lots. You can see here 201 Brookes, 15 Park, 11 and 9 Park as well, and then the vacant lot at number 13. Some photographs of 9 Park Avenue from my letter report, 11 Park Avenue, 15 Park Avenue, and then 201 Brookes Avenue as well. And I guess we can get started. I'll just kind of outline the process we undertook so you all can have an understanding. When we went out to the site, we went out, did site visit, walked the property, documented the structures, looking for typically not just residential structures. Sometimes a site element that is not the house or the structure is actually the oldest or most historic element of the property. So we did search for that as well. Took photographic evidence. took that back, compared what we saw on site, as well as our photographs, to Sanborn maps, historic aerials, census records, Ancestry.com, newspaper.com, did full chains of title for all 4 properties. So starting with the approximation of when the residential structure was constructed, starting with whoever owned the property prior to construction, full chain of title to present day. Over the span of the 4 properties, that's plus or minus 70 individuals, and then did full research as best as possible on all 70, birth records, death records, census records, just trying to glean any information at all. A few of the names, stuck out. There's actually one of the residents, and I believe it is, I can't remember, it might be 201. The last name was Gaither. And I was like, oh, that's a flag. But actually, no relation to any of the Gaithers of Gaithersburg, just kind of a little bit of a red herring. And then obviously, as we all know, with 15 Park Ave, there's a couple names, but the Myers and the Sachs, very interesting story, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. But I can stop there too. If there's any questions.
There was mention in Mrs. Barrett's letter about the Diamond family. And what did your research show about the Diamond family and where they were?
So I don't remember which property it was.
I didn't see it mentioned in your report.
We focused on whether, if they were mentioned in the letter report, they either lived at the property for a lengthy amount of time, more than just a few years, or it would have been someone who was significant, and their significant contribution to the community would have been at the time that they resided at the property.
Well, I believe East Diamond would have been named after them, so
I
that
understand.
does sound important.
I understand, but
Yeah.
there is, it wasn't, associated with anything that we could find with the information available to us at the time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, okay, so what we can do is, if you guys don't have any quick questions, we can go to the public, because we're going to go and have everybody have a chance here. Okay, so the public is now invited to speak. In-person participants, please line up at the podium to be sworn in. Now's your chance.
Sure.
Please form a single line.
Hello.
Hold on, let's let them all line up so you won't be interrupted. Okay.
Sure, I think that
You
would
do? Well, you don't have their names, so how do you do that? I don't mind swearing each
Okay,
one.
just
I don't care.
one by
but
one.
One by one to me makes more sense.
Okay, that's fine.
So please
We'll make
state
it
your name and then wait to be sworn in.
Amelia Sesma Barrett.
If you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Before you speak, can you just say where your district is that you live? What part of the HDC?
I live I live at 16 Park Avenue.
Okay, you don't have to say the address if you don't want to, but I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure that it's on the record that you're a resident.
Yes, I'm a resident and homeowner in Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Welcome, so please.
Thank you. So my long email was submitted in the record, and I know that I'm not going to read through the whole thing. There's just a couple of very important points I would like to highlight. Again, I'm a homeowner across the street from this development. And while I have many serious issues and concerns with the entire proposed development, I know that your scope of review tonight is very limited to the historic designation of these properties. And while I've read all these documents and done my own research on utilizing Maryland Historic Trust and other local research and historical sites, I do, while I appreciate the work that Gray and Pep has done, like was just mentioned, their
because they are not a local group, they are not aware of the significance of some of these families. So, for example, the Diamond family was possibly an original owner of 15 Park Avenue, also original owner of Diamond Drugs, Diamond Elementary, everything Diamond in this area. I think that's very important to continue the research there to make the most informed decision as possible in your role on the Historic Commission. The other interesting thing is that the 2018 Historic Preservation Master Plan lists many of our properties here as resources of note. And while I know that this is only reviewing for current buildings, I think it's really important to look at the entire block as a whole. While it is not designated as historic, they could potentially be. And by removing things that may possibly have very historical significance in the city, it affects the entire neighborhood, the Russell and Brookes addition, the historic district, the central business district. Finally, I really think it's important to talk about preservation, restoration, maintenance of something that there's only so many historic properties left in Gaithersburg, and I think every possible avenue of research needs to be exhausted before a decision is made that would affect the heart of Old Town Gaithersburg. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hold on, please. Let me reset. Okay, please state your name and the district you live in.
My name is Joan Berkowitz. I live on Park Avenue.
Wonderful.
I've been a resident.
Hold on.
Ma'am.
We're going to swear you in next.
If you could raise your
I'm
right
sorry.
hand.
That's
No worries.
okay.
If you could raise your right hand, please.
Sure.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give in this matter is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, please begin.
So as I was saying, I am a resident and a business person that has operated on Park Avenue. I've lived at my address for 47 years. I have seen all the changes that have gone through in the city over the years. I purposely bought my home because I'm an antique dealer, and it's a beautiful antique home. And I operated my business there in many ways, in different forms, with, permits from the city. And then my business grew to the point where I had to relocate, so I relocated to Frederick. One of the things that I wanted to point out is that in the 2018 master plan review that included the historic preservation, I printed out a page that I can hand out to you that is available in the information that Amelia sent to you. It's page 52. It is a description, and you can see in purple, I can hand it to you. You can pass it around. I can always make another copy. That the entire neighborhood was considered of historic note. Everything around us, including all of the properties for which the demolition is requested. My big concern is that the people who are here present today were hired by the investor who wants to push this action through, and that we need to do thorough due diligence in our own research that goes way beyond whatever they've done and possibly omitted from that historic preservation master plan to make sure that we're not overlooking any potential issues here. The other thing that I want to say is that they are requesting a demolition permit, and a demolition permit should never, ever be approved until the final site plan is approved through public hearings, the city council, the historic commission. It's kind of like putting the cart before the horse. You don't allow a demolition permit, which is what these people clearly want to do because they want to railroad this through, get the buildings torn down, and then work on their site plan. I say no. You got to get the site plan approved first, and then you consider whether or not these buildings warrant demolition. These are 4 perfectly viable commercial properties that have been used commercially. Am I beyond my 3 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Did you want to finish your sentence?
They're completely viable properties that should continue to be considered for restoration, renovation, and future commercial use.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome. Please state your name and your district or your address, whatever you prefer.
Thelma Reyes, and I'm a resident of Park Avenue.
Okay, we're going to swear you in now,
Could you
please.
raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome and begin.
So I've moved to Park Avenue on 1997. I've gone through the gentrification that has happened in that area. This community, especially Old Town, is mostly all Hispanic. By doing and allowing developments that have already occurred, like with Park Avenue, with the Highlands across the street right over here, and even the ones across this train station, there's been a lot of gentrification. They've taken out our people. They don't care who comes in or whatever. That happened with Park Station. I saw when the buildings burned down, the new one came in, it was fine. If you see the block that we're in, we don't have space. We don't have any wiggle space to move. We can't even go through. Their demolition will take off that road for us. We'll take the little bit of space that we have on the drone view that you guys did. If you see everything around it, it's all parking lots and homes. You're gonna tear down a little square, take away whatever else is left there. Now, drain problems that you have there. When they demo, they're gonna mess up the ground. They're gonna mess up everything around. You already have drain problems on Park Avenue and Brookes Avenue. When it rains, like it did past Thursday with the storms, the water, Amelia has footage of it, the water goes above the tires of the cars. All the drains that are there are all blocked. They're not getting the correct drainage that it should be going. Them tearing down the homes is going to mess up, make stuff go to our problem. Our home are historic. So you're going to mess up stuff that shouldn't be messed up. Other thing, you fixed Constitution Park across the street to make it more visible and more inviting to families. It's a beautiful park. I saw it from the change that it was before to what it is now. I love it. My kids go play there all the time. You bringing in the construction that your kids are going to do demolitioning that will take away access to the kids for those parks. So now you're taking away from our homes that we've lived in. They're just trying to make their money. They're going to run out other people, have more people gentrify our area. That's not correct. So they can take their money else and put it somewhere else, not there. Gettysburg is built on family. You take away these 4 homes and put buildings that who knows what who they're going to allow to rent. You're taking away from other families that could take those homes and use from the ground areas around. So I would not like for my street to be taken over by these 4, because all they want is just money. There's more property in Gettysburg that they could go to, not there. We don't have the space. We're not going to be able to move around now. There's accidents that happen on that road. I've witnessed several accidents. You can call, you can check the 911 log on there, reporting accidents all the time. Park Station has a drug problem. You have a lot of stuff coming. We don't need more stuff to come to our neighborhood with gentrification money that they're going to build on apartments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, please state your name
Hi.
and your district or address,
Ed Richley,
please.
14 Walker Avenue.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome. Please begin.
Seems like every time I walk into this room, it's to defend my neighborhood against some outside interest. And this is no exception. At the rate we're going, we're not going to have anything old in Old Town left. And we have to stop calling it Old Town. It surprises me that 15 and 9 in particular aren't already designated. I don't know why. They're very beautiful old houses. And particularly, I don't see this new development even trying to integrate into the Old Town structure, trying to even put up houses that look old or something that looks appropriate. It's just a clean slate. It doesn't reflect the past at all. And so from a design standpoint, it's just really not that appealing to me. It also occurs to me, as some people have mentioned, that, yeah, a demolition permit here wipes out a future need to go through this process. Probably makes the properties more valuable just having no buildings on them. So I think, yeah, connecting that demolition permit to a final complete plan, it seems very appropriate to not allow the demolition to happen until there is a complete plan. And maybe there's a chance to come up with something that would benefit the area and not just be an apartment building. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and your district or address.
I'm Marie Day.
Hello.
I live on Walker Ave.
If you could raise your right
Okay,
hand,
hold on, please. Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back.
Okay. As a stakeholder, I understand the need for progress and development. But I believe that jam-packing upward of 200 units across the street from a single-family neighborhood is a breach of trust that will lead to the degrading of all of the neighborhoods surrounding this structure. Two of the properties, 9 and 15 Park Ave, are identified in the city's 2018 Historic Preservation Master Plan as resources of note. The developer even describes 9 Park Ave as having the original portion of the structure retaining its historic architectural character, and 15 Park Ave as an example of an American four-square dwelling typical to the time and location of construction. I cannot for the life of me understand how it is appropriate to tear these buildings down. You're holding our feet to the fire. You're talking about the space between the bricks on somebody's chimney, and yet, poof, we're just going to tear these 4 buildings down. I don't get it. The developer hired a team that can wave their magic wand and the significant resources of note just disappear. I contest the opinions of these paid agents of the developer, and I ask for an impartial investigation. Is the city planning for the future while still maintaining the past, promoting a plan that supports historic preservation, which are words right out of your master plan? The resource conservation section states the continued use of existing buildings minimizes destruction of natural areas, including air and water quality. Yet the developer proposes to remove every house, every tree. There are 24. 9 of them are identified as specimen trees. 5 are in poor condition. Every blade of grass, all the open space, and replace it with 2 huge apartment buildings and a whole lot of asphalt. This overly large complex will not sit comfortably in our historic neighborhood. I would love to see our shabby little town turn into something more. And some time ago, I thought this was possible. Adding density, we've been promised, will be the answer. But it has not been the answer. The building of Archstone, Park Avenue, and the crossings have not brought us answers. I also have a problem with traffic. How will these 200, 400 additional residents get to Park Avenue? Summit from 355 to Diamond is usually backed up. So the next choice is to race down Brookes and race down Walker. In our 20 years on Walker, and this is my last, I'm finishing up. On our 20 years on Walker, we have seen a huge increase in traffic. truck traffic that shakes our 100-year-old houses, and speeding. Can we look forward to another 200 cars coming and going daily on our little street? Thank you for listening, and my hope is that you will consider other possibilities for this property. Sorry I went over.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I'll be under, I promise.
Welcome. Please state your name and
Clark
your-
Day,
right.
Walker Avenue.
Welcome back. It's nice
Thank
seeing you
you.
again. Please swear them in.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I have several concerns regarding issuing demolition permits for these properties. I have not seen any documentation of a traffic impact study for this project. I also have not seen what impact this project would have on the requirements of the adequate public facilities mandate. I also have not seen any specifications for the materials used in building this project. I also have not seen any statistics on how many apartments would be considered affordable. I know really well that none of these concerns are in the purview of the HDC. These issues will be addressed by the Planning Commission at a later date. Even if the above-mentioned omissions have been provided, my concern is this. If the HDC allows the destruction of these properties, 4 classic examples of home styles from Gaithersburg's past, they will be erased from history. What happens when the Planning Commission rejects the developer's plans or requires him to do something that he is not willing to do? What if the developer's financing falls through and all he can do is get money for 100% affordable housing, like what happened at the crossings? That cannot be allowed to happen. If the demolition permit is issued without restrictions, I fear that the houses will be destroyed to make way for a project that will never come to fruition. I suggest that if you issue demolition permits for these structures, you instruct the city manager to withhold the permits until the developer has site plans approved by the Planning Commission and any other entities whose approval is required. Only after the project has final approvals from the city should the properties be allowed to be wiped from the face of the earth forever. And I believe that if these permits are issued, those houses will be gone in 24 hours. Because just like Ed said, the property is probably worth more without them than with them, because they're a stumbling block. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome. Please state your name and your district or address.
I live on Brookes Avenue, less than 200 feet away from where this project's going to be taking place.
Kindly state your name.
Vasilios Katsatos.
Okay, please wait to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Please begin.
My main concerns were not having an actual plan tied to demolition. I feel like that's just a no-brainer. And also the traffic is definitely, there's not enough ways to get in and out of the neighborhood. In the alley behind my house and next to her house and her house, the alley right there is going to be the next ways direction that is going to be funneling traffic. I'd like to see some sort of like traffic study even, be considered. And you said there's going to be 200 apartments, and if 2 people have cars in each apartment, that's going to be 400 cars parked there. It's not possible. The roads aren't wide enough. And I've seen a lot of people speeding on Brookes Avenue. And, I did actually try to have a speed bump put in, and apparently people don't speed in the wintertime. They do in the summer, but in the winter when the study was conducted, there just wasn't enough speeders to justify a speed bump, which is right across the street from that park where a lot of kids play. And that's just my concern. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi.
Please state your name and the district or address that you live at.
Hi, my name is Tom Glass, and I live in Kentlands.
Oh, Kentlands. Okay, very good. All right, please wait to be sworn in.
Raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Begin.
Okay, so I'd like to start by thanking the City of Gaithersburg and its residents for supporting my dental practice at 201 Brookes Avenue for 26 years. I've enjoyed living here, and I continue to live in the community. Because I care deeply about the community and its future, I'm here to speak in support of the proposed mixed residential commercial project, which will include my former property on Brookes Avenue. I believe that this proposal has been carefully crafted by the principals to add much-needed upscale housing, commercial space, and necessary infrastructure improvements. They've taken great care to integrate the elements in a harmonious way with the surrounding area. This project will create jobs. This project will create jobs, bring prosperous young professionals into the area, and bolster the financial foundations of local government. Assuming the economic upheaval that seems to be headed our way arrives, it is hard to overemphasize the importance of creating jobs and strengthening the local tax base. Failure to embrace a project that will bring so many potential benefits to the community at large at a time of economic turmoil would seem a disservice. Of course, it goes without saying that change can be stressful for some, but change is inevitable and necessary. What's important is the structure. What's important is the structure needed changed in the least disruptive way possible, and to address the concerns of those most affected. I feel that Mr. Siddiqui and his associate, Mr. Bernstein, have done this as well as anyone could, and that they should be recognized for their efforts in this regard. My experience with both men has shown them to be honest, ethical, and kind. I believe that they wanted to do something good for Gaithersburg. I support this project and admire the vision behind it. Now, I know this will be unpopular with those here tonight, but obviously it's necessary when you're trying to make an omelet to break some eggs, and that's why I have no objections to the demolition proposals.
Yes, because they bought
Thank you
your
very
house.
much. Excuse me, no, please don't be talking now. If you want to come and talk again, I'll be willing to allow that on a limited amount.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Please state your name and your
Thank you.
address or your district.
Yes, my name is Amjad Humayo, and I am a resident and the owner.
Sir, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. As I said, I'm the owner and the resident of the property within the jurisdiction.
Okay.
And my heart goes to all who live here in the area and also to the project. My stand is little different. I have a little different perspective. I think it's not the natives or the residents versus the developer. I think they're all one. The reason I say that is the both parties need each other. This area needs uplift. You go through 270, the right side going north, right side of 270 versus left side of 270 are two different areas. You need investment. You need investment to bring the upscale living for the people. I understand. I totally agree with their concerns. But none of those concerns are any different from coming of a new change. Whenever there is a change, there is a resistance. There is a resistance, and then there is a solution. We have to find a way how to deal with those issues, but nothing can stop the change. 100 years down the road, none of us will be here. Now we are talking about 8, 10 houses in the area which will be affected, but then we will be talking about almost 180 apartments in this area. So look at the number of people who will be living here and what amount of business they are going to bring in here and what kind of business, and also what kind of value will be increased for the people who are already living in the neighborhood. So I personally feel that this kind of change is always positive. It requires, the area requires that, and we need to have a little different perspective. And I think both parties have to work together to find out where the objections are and how the objections are to be resolved, but the change is inevitable. That's what I would submit.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back. Please
Hi,
state
thank
your
you.
name and your address. Or
Giselle Rivera, and I'm 5 Walker Avenue.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give in this matter will be nothing but the truth, will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This issue is new to me, and one of the things that was mentioned earlier is that our home is a living example of the past, a jewel, if you will. And so the homes that are referenced, along with demolition, are also living examples of the past. The permit to destroy those houses did not seem to include the possibility of moving them or having parts of them used in any type of new construction or anything that would connect the value of those properties and their character with any type of development in the future. I do a lot of business in Kentlands. I go to Kentlands daily and look at this beautiful, thriving city with their dinner that all of their residents attended and all of their businesses. Any developer wanting to do work in Old Town Gaithersburg must bring with them some means to create not just affordable housing or apartments, but services, amenities, things that will enhance Old Town Gaithersburg to create not another Kentlands, but at least an area where I can get a cup of coffee in my own neighborhood, where I can buy basic services and not walk past what looks like a ghost town. I've been here for 12 years, and our area has not grown. The people have become more congested. The traffic, of course, is horrendous, but there are no value adds that create to the charm of a neighborhood. And any development company, any builder that wants to do business here has to take stewardship of what we are all thriving for. The attention to detail of the difference in the size of the mortar. The building that's pictured in no way represents charm. There are many ways to create housing that resemble antique or aging or stylistic rather than just another building to make profit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome back. It was
Good
nice
evening.
seeing
It's
you
been a
again.
long time since I've been in this.
Yes, sir. We
meeting.
missed you.
So, my name is Mike Sesma. I live in the West Riding community.
Okay, please swear in.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I did not expect my first visit back here for a formal meeting to be on this particular occasion. I am somewhat surprised that this is the one, but you know, we've talked about a couple of different master plans tonight. We referenced that. I voted for all of those in my 16 years on the council. Since 2005, I supported every project of redevelopment within the Old Town Central Business District and beyond. I think those were good plans, but There's nothing about this plan that we see now that really complements the area where it's proposed to be built. So I'm very concerned, and I'm also very familiar with the historic resources still existing within the city. We have lost a few over in the years that I served on the council for different reasons. Actually, they were on the west side; they weren't on the east side. So, but it's interesting to read the report by the developers' archaeological survey, whatever we want to refer to them as. Yet, and their detailed study seems to lack connection to a very important family, in which streets, schools, parks, etc., are named, in which families are buried within significant cemeteries within the city, and that would be the Diamonds. To not even recognize or acknowledge to make the connection of the Diamond family to one of these sites. So I was a little bit surprised at that. So I'm suggesting that the information that you have related to the historical significance of these structures that are proposed to be demolished is insufficient to be able to make a completely informed decision tonight. And I would suggest an independent audit, historic audit of all of these buildings as well and all of the sites. There are plenty of other issues about this particular project that disturb me. And believe me, look, I voted for, there's 1,000 units within 3/4 of a mile of the center of the intersection of Diamond and Summit. I supported all of them. They did great things, but none of them confronted the historic neighborhood that this site does. None of them threatens to lack a complementarity and an enhancement to the neighborhood as you modernize it, which is what the developers and their representatives claim to want to do. That simply isn't there. And that will actually, I think, have a bigger impact on those families that invested in the historic district now. For years have invested in those neighborhoods to make sure that we retain some of the character of the people who built and founded Gaithersburg over 150 years ago. So that's my concern, and I suggest that the commission send this back for more thorough and independent study on the historical significance of these structures. I won't even go into the architectural significance that is exhibited, especially in 9 and 15. So thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight, and I hope you come to the appropriate decision tonight.
Before you leave, Mike, let me ask you a quick question. As a former councilman, your opinion matters a lot just because you used to be the one voting on these things. And so my question to you is, it sounded like you originally, perhaps on this project, I'm not sure, supported redevelopment. Is that correct for this particular project?
You know, as people have referenced tonight, some speakers have referenced, redevelopment is important. It's a fact of life.
I'm trying
Okay.
to
So yes,
understand.
I have
Yes.
supported
Okay.
redevelopment
So
in different parts of the city.
I get
Different
that,
plans.
and I understand that. I just wanted to make sure I understood that from you. Is your big concern on this particular project less of losing those 4 houses and more of seeing what the development presentation is showing? Is it the architecture that you proposed the biggest issue for you?
I've never been a little picture guy with a narrow focus. I've always been a big picture. When I said at the dais, I always talked about the big picture, the consequences of decisions that we make, and the potential for losing something that can't be replaced. So that would have to do with the properties that would be demolished. But on the other hand, I've also looked at compatibility and complementarity to a neighborhood for any project or any decision for the council. I think there are plenty of votes where you can look at that decisions were made and the majority decided that in the best interest of both the current residents and the future residents, we had to make certain decisions and approve or disapprove certain requests.
I understand all that, and forgive me if I repeat my question, but what I'm trying to figure out from just your personal perspective as being a former councilman, is your big concern on this the architecture that's being proposed and not necessarily 180 units.
Well, look, this is just the beginning of a process for this, so I'm not going to answer your question directly,
okay.
which
You
is
don't have
what I think you want. I'm here to talk about the business before you tonight, which is to consider the demolition of these properties and
Right.
why I think that's a bad idea. I'm going to be here at, whenever there's a hearing regarding this project, if it goes beyond this, when it goes to Planning Commission and before the City Council.
Okay.
And I will be here to talk about what I think might be good things about a project and what are the bad things about the project. How does it enhance the city? And how does it achieve our redevelopment goals and help us reach the objectives of the master plan? Okay. So I will be here, but tonight I'm here to talk about this particular issue.
Okay.
And I understand the process, and I understand that some of the other speakers tonight have talked about what happens after this. But I think it's a very good point that a number of speakers made tonight is that once those buildings are down, there's nothing you can, that's it. You can't get them back. Okay, so you have to be very careful in making the decision to demolish these buildings.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to show any favoritism for a former councilman. I did want to ask my question, and you did answer
Well,
it, that you weren't.
Thank you for
able
giving me
to.
the opportunity to
No, I
answer.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anyone else from the, those present in the community want to speak? Is there, I see no one. Is there?
I
Yes.
have one follow-up, but I know there's people on Zoom that want to speak too.
Well, that's
so-
okay. Here's what I'm going to do. How many people want a follow-up? We generally do not give follow-up, but I'll allow, if there's only one or two, I'll allow 1 minute each. Are there just two?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything legally preventing me from allowing that?
Typically, the 3 minutes that are allotted to each member of the public
Yes.
is the only amount of time.
Okay,
that they-
then I have to withdraw my belief. So we do not want to do anything that's not illegally allowable.
Excuse me.
Yes, yes,
What we can do is if we were to leave the record open, you would be able to submit it in writing. So any of you who were not able to finish what you were going to say tonight, please, as soon as you can, submit it in writing.
Thank you.
Well, you're assuming that we're not going to.
If we don't,
That's assuming that.
I don't know.
The vote is not taken tonight and finalized. That's assuming that. If it's left open, then yes, your suggestion would, at that point in time.
And we will have to consider
value.
that when we
I understand,
get there.
but just
Yeah.
point out that if it is voted on tonight, it'll be a final vote if it's voted on as a decision. Just, I don't want you guys to write a letter if it's voted on tonight. Okay, very good. All right, so next then is Zoom. Do we have anyone waiting on Zoom?
Perhaps we should have the tech team play the video again.
Wonderful. Tech team?
Good evening. If you've connected to the meeting tonight via Zoom and you're on a desktop or a laptop and you wish to make a public comment, we can't currently see or hear you. What you need to do, please, is wiggle your mouse around and look towards the bottom center of your screen. You should see a raise hand button. Go ahead and click on that now for us, please. Alternatively, if you've connected in via telephone, you can press *9.
Wonderful, thank you.
First, we have Lisa Schuler.
Are you present?
Yes, now I have figured out that raising of the hand thing.
Wonderful, okay. All right, could you state your name and either your address or your district, and then wait to be sworn in?
Sure. Lisa Schuler, 30 Walker Avenue.
Ms. Schuler, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. You may begin.
All right. So I put a list of questions to you as the committee to make this decision as a part of the meeting this evening. And all I'm going to ask is that you please read the questions and give serious thought as members of the community, but also if you were to be the ones living here. I have been on Walker Avenue for 24 years and actually helped write the historic guidelines that would make living here possible and viable for the people who live here. And I do believe change is needed, but I don't think it's needed on Park Avenue at this moment. I think we have a lot of other areas that are open for gentrification that we should have been looking at for a long time. So I'm not certainly going to exceed my time, but I would just like you to think about things like parking and traffic. And as many of the neighbors said, we call it Old Town, but there's not much old left. And a lot of what is old is dilapidated and falling apart. That's not the houses on Park Avenue. And as you get rid of more and more, you have less and less to tout as your historic Old Town Gaithersburg. So please do think about these things before you make a decision. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. Okay. Chris?
Next, we have Dave Belgard.
Delgard?
Belgard.
With a B, thank you. Hello?
With a B, thank you.
Hello, please, hold on, please. Please state your name and your district or your address that you live in, and then wait to be sworn in, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Dave Belgard. I live in Washingtonia Woods.
Mr. Bellegarde, if you could raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, wonderful. Begin.
All right. Commissioners, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here. It's important to preserve our city's history, and it's equally important to ensure our city's growth and its vibrancy. Last year, I ran for city council, and during the campaign, we had a candidates forum in Old Town. And many of the questions during that forum focused on what the candidates would do to revive and to uplift Old Town. Other questions focused on ensuring that that new quality housing was brought into Old Town. It's just not possible to build new vibrancy and to bring in quality housing if we don't allow new projects to be built. A number of potential issues regarding traffic, wastewater, parking, and more have been discussed tonight. Those are all really considerations that the Planning Commission and the City Council will have to take into account. The focus of this commission, of course, is ensuring that our history is appropriately and properly maintained. As the city staff wrote, there's really only one lot that might have some historic significance. And based on the findings, it's not even really the location that may be significant, but rather the person that lived there and their contributions to the community. I hope that the commission takes serious consideration of the myriad ways that our history could be maintained other than designating the lot as historic. Instead, please consider the alternate options that the staff recommended, such as historic markers and displays. Those recommendations would both maintain the city's history, while at the same time allowing the possibility for this project to move forward and meet the goals of building new vibrancy and bringing new quality housing into Old Town. There was also some previous testimony that mentioned potentially granting the demolition permit while putting a condition on it to ensure that a building actually can be built there appropriately. And that may be a very reasonable accommodation to consider. Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to hearing what your decision is.
Thank you very much. Anyone next?
We have Lee, I can't see the last name. Lee Frame.
Correct. Lee Frame, 29 Maryland Avenue.
Okay, hold on. We'll swear you in. Thank you.
Ms. Frame, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please begin.
So first I want to say that I'm not anti-growth or progression in any stretch of the imagination. So just putting that out there. But that being said, I think in order to have an educated discussion about this growth, we need to have a plan. And I think many of our other neighbors have brought this up too. And I'm honestly horrified that we're talking about demolishing buildings in our beautiful neighborhood without any real plan as to what will go there. We could end up with 4 vacant lots. And that's a horrifying thought to me, particularly in a neighborhood that has such charm that is, frankly, irreplaceable. Now, if we had a plan in front of us that, maybe dealt with some of the issues that our neighbors have brought up, traffic, parking, something that felt like it was adding to the neighborhood and not just adding more vacant commercial space that we already have tons of in Old Town, then maybe we could have this discussion about demolition. But it seems right now that this is actually all extremely premature, not to mention the fact that I feel like an independent historical survey really does need to be done. So we don't have all the facts here. I feel like we're having a discussion about something without understanding even what we're discussing. And so that's very alarming to me. And so I hope that you will take the time to really give this the thought that it needs and to do the legwork that is required to make an educated decision. Be that as it may, you may feel the need to make a decision tonight. And if you do that, I implore you to put conditions on these demolition permits saying that they must have plans in place that have been approved, and then something will actually be moving forward, and we will not end up with just vacant lots. And that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Next, we have Z. Flansbaum.
Hello, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, please state your name and your address or district you live in.
This is Z. Flansbaum. I live across Brookes Avenue from 201 property.
Thank you. Okay, hold to be sworn in.
Mr. Flatsbaum, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Wonderful. Please begin.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to participate. I saw the sign across the street from where I live, and I think that was a great way to involve people like me. I want to say that I agree that it's a good idea to have a completed plan before the demolition. I also agree that a traffic study would be very helpful. Brookes Avenue is very, very busy sometimes, frequently. And that intersection at Brookes and Park can be quite dangerous sometimes. As a pedestrian, I feel it's a dangerous intersection. And there was even a time when I witnessed some road rage type activity because of the excess of traffic at that intersection. And then lastly, I just wanted also to give my support to an independent historical audit. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Shafiq Khan.
Hello, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, please state your name.
Yes, this is Shafiq Khan.
Okay, please state your name and your address or the district you live in, and then wait for us to swear you in.
Great. This is Shafiq Khan. I'm at 18513 Fontana Lane in Gaithersburg.
Mr. Khan, can you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please begin.
So, Honorable Chairman and Council, first, I must say I'm very impressed with this wonderful process you have of seriously reviewing any situation such as this. And I appreciate everything that's been said so far. As a former Marriott executive who has had a lot of perspectives seen and shared from projects that we did where we completely built up Broadway, for instance, for the Marriott Marquis, I know that almost all of these things have opposition because the people who are going to benefit from it are not there to talk about it. And these people come in later. The people who are benefiting from Kentlands, the hundreds who are benefiting from the Kentlands, are not here to speak today. The only people who are there to speak are the ones who are affected. And while I have complete empathy with them, because that does happen, all change can be painful. Most change can be painful. But at the end of the day, we have to be thinking about the city of Gaithersburg. To me, this is an urban renewal project. It's the beginnings of it. We have already seen great benefit in other parts of Gaithersburg, in our area in the county. Includes Kentlands, obviously, as Dr. Klaas has mentioned, includes the Crown area, which we all know about, and Mr. Amjad has also mentioned similar situations. So my opinion on this is that we need to be thinking of urban renewal, but at the same time, my understanding was that this session was not about urban renewal and the validity of it, but more about the historical significance of the property that needs to be demolished for new development. So on that, I don't pretend to be an expert, but I am fully supportive of the recommendation that we have from the expert, and obviously would be of you as a council and a committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have, and I apologize if I mispronounce this, Sema Beg.
Hello, can you hear us?
I'm sorry, this is Dave Donner. You unmuted me.
Is Sema Beg there?
Try again, then we'll move on.
I think we're having issues with Sema Beg, so perhaps we can...
have an issue.
Okay, let's move on to Stuart Bernstein.
Hello, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, please state your name and your address or the district you live in, and then wait to be sworn in.
Stuart Bernstein. I don't know how to say this, but I'm from Baltimore.
That's okay, that's okay, that's good. All right, hold on, let's swear you in, please.
Mr. Bernstein, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I affirm so.
Okay, please begin.
I've had the pleasure of managing the properties in question for the last year and a half, and it's truly a beautiful community. But one issue that I consistently have is not just trash, but beer bottles and food in the backyards. I mean, people are they're openly drinking and I don't know if they're doing drugs, but they're definitely hanging out, and it's not uplifting the community. As far as the historic significance, I guess you'd have to look around to see if any of the legacy of the people who you claim made some historic significance is still in your community. I don't know that it is, and I wouldn't presume to know more about your community than you do.
Are we allowed to ask them questions?
I wouldn't. Is that all, sir?
That's all. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I should have said that.
That's okay, thank you so much, thank you.
If we want to try Javeed Hashmi.
Hello, are you there?
Javed Hashmi, if you're there. You can unmute them. And we're going to move on from them. Kamal, I can't see the last name. Kamal M. Udin.
Hello, can you hear us? Kamal?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful, please state your name and your address or the district you live in.
My name is Kamal Moinuddin, and I live in the Airport Road in Gaithersburg.
Wonderful, please wait to be sworn in, thank you.
Mr. Moinuddin, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Wonderful, please begin.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. One of the things I wanted to say was I know that there's always a resistance to change, and I know this is an emotional subject. But the testimonies I've heard, as emotional as they are, they seem to me a little bit dramatic also. I don't think the builder is trying to demolish the entire community. I think we're only talking 3 or 4 structures there. So with that said in mind, I mean, I moved here 21 years ago, and I used to take my children to downtown Gaithersburg. And the audience may not like it, but the same children, now if I ask them to go to downtown Gaithersburg, they say, we don't want to go to the hood. And again, it's just a perception, and perception is everything. So with that in mind, you know, I'm all in for an uplift for, you know, my own city where we have already lost our mall. We've already lost Toys R Us, where my children used to go and buy toys. And now we're going to all these other cities, i.e. Germantown or Rockville or even further, you know, north. So with that in mind, of course, a lot of attention has to be paid to, you know, the way people have recommended, saying it has to be an organized approach. But this is all about giving my city an opportunity to uplift so that I have something for my children to benefit from, or for my children's children to benefit from. Because I don't think I'm going to be living here or be even alive after 20 or 25 years. So I am thinking a little bit futuristic. There's a lot of testimonials given, so I'm not going to repeat about the fact that it's going to bring in, you know, new people. We in Gaithersburg should be welcoming new people as long as those people are vetted and, you know, are nice. If they can contribute to our city, and if because of them, if we can have some financial uplift, I am definitely all for it. There was a concern about parking. I hope that the builder is thinking of building some kind of underground parking so that minimizes, you know, that risk. One of the things was, I just want the city to be thriving, you know, in a few years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
There's no one else after that. We may want to go back and see if the 2 people that couldn't get on, Sema Beg first. And they're having technical issues, and Javed.
Do not do Sema.
We'll try Javid last.
Javed Hashmi.
Hashmi.
Yep. He's trying.
So someone's on your computer.
They will not unmute.
Okay, so that's all. Oh, we have one more. Donna Zanner.
Hello, can you hear us?
If we can unmute Donna Zanner.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, please state your...
Hi, thank you so much.
Hold on, please state your name and your address or the district you live in, and then wait to be sworn in.
My name is Susan Zanner. I live at 108 Russell Avenue.
Thank you. Hold, please.
Ms. Zanner, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, begin.
Thank you. First of all, I did send an email to the Planning Commission this afternoon around 4:15, and I'd just like that to be in the record, if you will. Maybe you can find that sometime. There are so many people. Thank you. There are so many people who spoke tonight who spoke very eloquently, and I agree wholeheartedly. And they are mostly people who live in the area. I've been living in this old town since 1960, off and on. I've seen a lot of changes, and many of them have been good. We do need to thrive in Gaithersburg. I don't think we necessarily need to thrive quite as much on Park and Brookes Avenue. I have a special place in my heart for all of those buildings and that little pathway going between them. I've been using them for years, walking the dog, walking to school. And I think a lot of people in the neighborhood feel the same way. There's a little bit of green space. And I'm trying to keep away from talking about the building project and just stay on the historic aspect of these homes. So they've been here for a long, long time in all of our recollection. And it's always kind of heartening to see these old houses. Now, I know some change has to be, but you know, I hope people really, really think about this. I wholeheartedly believe that we do need a plan in place that is finalized before we take those houses out. And Old Town is Old Town, as they've said many times. Please consider it. Another thing I was thinking about is I live in the historic area, but I am still under the guidelines. My house is not historic itself, but I still live under the guidelines of the historic process. So when I'm making any changes to my house, I go before your board and I follow the historic guidelines. And I would think that since those houses are, many of them, in that historic district, that perhaps they too have complied with historic guidelines. So maybe it's semi-historic. I don't know how that works, but it's just something to think about, in my opinion. And yes, Gaithersburg has been built on families and the strength of the families. So I feel that's very, very important, and hope that we don't have 400 more people right in this little 3-block area. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, don't hang up yet. Don't hang up.
I'm not.
I'm going to ask Chris, our staff, did you receive an email?
I did not. It may have gone to a general planning email address that I don't have access to, so we can see if we can find that email and add it to the record.
I can resend it if you like, but.
Can you give, is it appropriate for you to give her the email address right now?
Well,
To send it to her?
I could contact her offline.
That sounds great. Okay, yeah, send it just in case, if there's a chance, a possible chance that it does not go to vote tonight. It may or may not, but if it does not, then that email at that point in time may be valuable to us. Okay? So
Okay, I can resend it to Chris if you like.
Yes, please do.
Okay, yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And I see no one else with their hand raised.
No one else, okay. All right, so Eric, before we go to the commissioners, let me ask the question in a second. Is there anybody else from the audience who are present who did not speak yet that would like to at this moment in time? Okay, if you have not spoken on this particular issue, please come up and be sworn. Please state your name and your address once again.
Colette Broussard, Walker Avenue.
Okay, wait to be sworn in.
Raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
I just want to, we've gone full circle, and I just wanted to round it out and close it out with the fact that tonight the commission is supposed to be looking at demolition of these buildings. And so a lot of people have talked about everything, including the demolition of the buildings, and then what's going to happen afterwards. But I think that people have said it very eloquently. Before you demolish these buildings, you need to know what you're going to do with it. You need to have an approved plan. You need to know that what's coming is going to enhance Gaithersburg and bring life that we need. But before you demolish the buildings, let's know what that plan is.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public who is here who has not spoken? You're welcome to come up and speak. And I see and hear no one. Okay, very good. So what I was asking, Eric, is before we go to the commissioners, do we want to have the applicant have a rebuttal, chance for rebuttal?
Yeah, there.
So is that appropriate right now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Please, you've heard all of the testimony. Please kindly focus on a rebuttal to anything that you've heard rather than give us new information. But I'm not going to stop you from giving new information, but it would be very helpful if you just address it on those lines.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I may, I have an answer to Commissioner LaFrance's earlier question.
Please.
The diamonds in my letter report are mentioned on page 6 as well as page 28. And the reason why they are mentioned but not mentioned in great detail is that earlier when I stated we did chain of title from the earliest known date of the structure back, the diamonds owned the property. And from all the records we could indicate, they owned the property prior to the residence at number 15 being built. So it was a vacant lot, from what we could tell, when they sold it to the Myers in 1921. And their earliest documented evidence we have of that home existing is 1924 on the Sanborn maps. So they are mentioned in the chain of title. They are mentioned on page 9 as having owned the property, and they owned, I'm assuming, quite a bit of land outside of the scope of my influence this evening. But they, to the best of our knowledge, with the data we had at the time, did not have a hand in constructing the residence.
I do remember reading that.
And then other than that, I know that there's talk of, it is true, these properties are very close to, and they're platted to the Brookes Walker Russell Historic District, and some of the plat is involved in that district. However, as you all know, these properties are not, for whatever reason, they were not included when that district was laid out. Some of the plat is that they were not. And so while, the structures retain some architectural merit, as outlined in the letter report, it is of our opinion that they don't rise to the level of, an exceptional example outside. Now, would the conversation be different if they were inside the district? Of course. But in this instance, they're not. And so, we've outlined that in our letter report, and we feel pretty confident with that.
Okay, thank you. Anything further before we go to the commission?
Excuse me? I just
Hello?
have, I know.
You can't speak from there,
Okay.
but please come up here and relay in concept what you want to present.
Yes, just history on 15 Park, based on the Maryland taxation assessment. It says the primary structure was built in 1914. So that would have been when the Diamonds owned it.
All right, you were already sworn in. Just please state your name
Okay.
for the record.
Amelia Barrett.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. All right.
Mr. Chair, do I have the ability to?
I'm so sorry?
Do I have the ability to respond to that?
Absolutely, please do.
So the Maryland tax records are not always accurate, and I did actually reach out for freedom of information question to the city about if they had any more concrete details around when that structure was built, and they just referred me back to the Maryland tax records. So it is indicated as circa 1914, but again, there's nothing concrete in there.
That's okay, no talking out, I want to make sure it doesn't become crazy here, but can you, if you desire, email that to Chris. If this does not go past tonight, then it may not, it won't matter, but if this does go past tonight, then at that point in time, it might be valuable information, okay? So, all right, so you've had a chance, applicant to rebut. So without any further information, we're going to the commissioner. Okay, so let's hear from commissioners stating your thoughts and questions for the applicant. Commissioner Feinstein, you're up first.
Okay, I guess first I have a question for Chris Berger, if you may or may not know. Historically, why were these properties not included in the Brookes Russell Walker?
Likely for economic reasons due to their proximity to Summit Avenue. The Brookes Russell Walker, majority of properties are zoned R90, medium density residential. These properties are CBD, Central Business District. Before that, they were another commercial zone. So these properties likely were always eyed as commercial properties. And as we know, the Brookes Russell and Walker Historic District is almost primarily residential. There is one or two exceptions.
Okay, thank you. I guess the former councilman talked about looking at the big picture. And I think the city council, that's what they do. They look at the big picture and look at all these things that, affect the city in various manners. Our job as historic district commissioners is kind of look at the small picture. I mean, our goal here is to kind of look at this from purely understanding of whether or not these buildings are worthy of designation. And we've heard a lot of discussion from the community, which has been great. And but again, we're trying to keep things limited to not things that the planning commission would be worried about, which is parking and traffic and things like that, which are valid concerns, but they're not in our purview right now. So when I look at this, I look at the 4 buildings, and because they're not part of the historic district, I know they're supposed to be looked at individually, but I don't think it's possible to do that, especially because they're going to be demolished together. So I think you need to look at them as a group of 4 properties and what it would mean to have those 4 properties gone from the city. And once they're demolished, they're gone. They're not coming back. And to do that without a full understanding, and I think there is some questions remaining as to some of the historical aspects of the inhabitants of the properties. I think that's something that needs to be understood further. But furthermore, I think you look at the structures themselves from an architectural standpoint, and yeah, they may individually not be exemplary, aspect. I mean, they may not be like the most prime examples of each of the architectural styles of each building individually, but taking together as a group of 4, I think they certainly meet the requirements to be designated, and I think it's worthy of study. So I think it's premature to even consider demolishing these structures, and I'd be very concerned that they would be.
Well, great. Everything you said I thought was highly valuable, so thank you for that. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you. I have a question for Chris.
Yeah.
In the application, demolition application, was a master plan or demolition plan submitted as part of this package? I haven't seen anything.
Are you asking if there is a plan for redevelopment?
No. I mean, if you request for application to demolish, you should have a demolition plan. I mean, architecturally, when you're doing any demolition, you have a demolition plan. And I'm from the questions and complaints from the residents, they talk about traffic, they talk about water. Because if you're taking down buildings, particularly these old buildings, you should have a plan as you take down the buildings, what you're going to leave there, how you're going to retain runoff, water. All these things should be comprehensively addressed and apply and be part of your application. You can just say in writing, I want to take down 5 buildings. The buildings sitting on a site, an existing site, the existing conditions that need to be addressed. You can just take down the building. So I'm hearing the complaint, and I hear your presentation, and I'm looking for a master plan or a demolition plan that address this issue. What is the existing traffic condition before you take down the building? I mean, our job is to look at the demolition application and exhibit. We're not looking at the big picture. We're looking at that. But even looking at that, I don't see it. So if for me to make any comment or make recommendation, I lack information to make recommendations. So with that being said, I think we need to revisit it. And there's a lot of information that I'm not seeing.
I'll save my reply to that question when it's my turn. I don't want to affect anybody's communication. Next thing.
And I want to address some things I know in NASA's we're looking at what's going to be built later on. But if you look at these buildings, they're they look residential, but they are commercial, right? They've been designated as commercial over the years. And again, I saw a rendering, and you just looking at the 5 buildings, that's not the whole thing. You got to look at the entire neighborhood. Architecturally, you have language, you have vocabulary. You need to pick up things. If you're going to bring introduce a new building into the environment, that it got to be harmonious. You can't just take something and superimpose it into the neighborhood that is foreign to the neighborhood. In the fighting each other, it got to be complementary. So that's something that looking forward to. But I just want to. I don't want to say too much.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioner Roddy.
Thank you. I'll get right to it. As I look at Article 24, Section 231, D, 2 and 3, I think we have a reasonable probability of meeting the standards of 24, 226. Specifically, 226.1, Roman 3, identity of person or groups who influence the society, or Roman 1, the character, interest, or value as part of the development, heritage, or cultural characteristics of the city. 226.2, the architecture, Roman 1, embodies distinctive characteristics of a type, period of construction. Or 2, Roman 6, the embody the design setting of the city's sense of time, place, and historical development. I agree that I think we could have used more time, more research, I should say. And I think this points out a flaw in the process that we have. We're asked tonight, based on the information in front of us, to make a decision, either thumbs up or thumbs down. There's nothing really much in the middle. And I don't think we really are adequately prepared to do that. Specifically, when I look at number 9, it's a building that was constructed in the 1880s. And we really don't have much in the way of historical background on it. And I find this very hard to believe. I live in a house that is of similar age. And I could bore you to tears with details over the people who have owned it and their histories. And we're talking about Sterick. We're talking about Barnett. We're talking about Carlisle. We're talking about Zatter. I have a hard time believing that this other house at 9, with a similar age, doesn't have a similar history. And when I look at the pictures that Commissioner LaFrance provided us, you look at the details, like the barge board tailing. It's beautiful. The scallop shingling, that's beautiful. When we're talking about demolition, do we really want to destroy the grace, the beauty, the proportion that this exemplifies? It doesn't have to be the best example, but it is an example. And this brings up what Ms. Barrett and several others have pointed out. We have to look at these buildings in context, the neighborhood that they exist in. Let me take up number 15 very briefly. I know that no matter what year it was, either 1930s or 1914, no matter when it was built, but I know there's more to the story than what we have in front of us. When it was owned by the Cheneverts, they operated it as the office for pro-nursing, and it was an informal museum of the nursing profession. She collected uniforms of the nurses going back to the Civil War. She had all the literature, the books, pens, all the articles of nursing procedures. She even had an evolution of bedpans, if you will. I had the pleasure of going out to Cannon Beach, Oregon, where they have moved and they have reconstructed it as the National Nursing Museum. This isn't mentioned. We don't know anything about it. I think this certainly is something that we would talk about when we're talking about persons or groups of people who influence society, nursing, or the character, interests, or value of the part of the development of the heritage, the cultural development of the city. Truly, I think that we should study these things. We should know more about them. And as I think all of us agree, once they're gone, they're gone. And that's it.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Commissioner LaFrance?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. I personally would find it very hard to make a decision tonight without an independent report. There's not enough information to consider, and we would be derelict in our duties if we decided tonight, in my opinion.
Okay, anything further?
Well, I believe there is enough breadcrumbs in the record to show us there's much, much more to see. And I need to see that to make a responsible decision.
Okay, okay, all right. I'm next and last. Chris, these properties are in the CBD zone.
Correct.
Right. Are they allowed to build a residential apartment in a CBD zone?
You could have a residential component in the CBD zone.
Well, it's not a component, it's the mass. There's only a few, small percentage
Oh,
that was
absolutely,
commercial.
yes.
You're saying that this would be allowed in the CBD
Yes.
zone? Okay, all right. I'll just state two opposing points of view that I have in this project. I believe 9 Park Avenue is a gem architecturally. I believe 11 Park Avenue is a nice building, and it has a historic figure with the mayor, who was the mayor for 23 years. I believe 15 Park Avenue is an absolute gem, and I do believe that these are very great examples of their style. I think Park Avenue, absolutely, it's stunning. That 1894 project, the detailing is great on that. And I think 201 Brookes is okay. I don't think it's anything special. But so I would hate to see these projects wiped out. Clearly, no question, high level on 9 Park Avenue, 15 Park Avenue. But the opposite concept here is the thing that essentially is the only thing that matters, and this is the trouble. Gaithersburg has laws that we must follow. And the basic concept of the law, and I'll just cite the one that I think allows us to make a decision on this, whether it's tonight or whatever. It's Roman numeral 2D 2B, which just simply says the HDC must, and it uses the word must, issue a demo permit unless if an application prior to this was to designate, then we can cite that as allowing us not to allow for demolition. And then it says, and this is a positive, that if we have reasonable probability of it being designated upon the petition by the HDC to the mayor and council. Now, I believe we, based on what I'm hearing, everybody I think is in support of saving these. I'll say I am. It didn't sound like anybody is on our commission would say we're ready to demolish. But what I'm getting at in the long run is it's really ultimately not our decision. It's ultimately the mayor and council. Mm-hmm. And that is what we have to follow by law, by our guidelines. It's our constitution, we have to. So we could tonight come to the conclusion that we believe the mayor and council will designate this. And I personally was thinking I would abstain because I think from a previous time that we had found an entire row of buildings that were up for demolition. We went and decided that they are all worth saving, all worth designating. And then it went to the mayor and council. We, I believe, had the conversation on a Wednesday, we typically do. The following Monday, the mayor and council just simply said absolutely not. There's no reason. They voted 5-0. I don't believe the mayor votes in these things. I don't know, but I don't think he voted. And it wasn't even close. And to hear their discussions, it appeared to me personally when I watched their hearing, their Monday night meeting, that it wasn't even close. I think I came away in the following month and said that if their vote was possible to be less than 0, it would have been. They just had absolutely no value in these buildings that we found to be well worth saving. It was the pink house, if you guys all recall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it wasn't even close. There wasn't even a chance. I don't have any problem, and based on tonight, you can see democracy in action. I really believe that there was no hope that they would ever do this, the mayor and council, and therefore I was going to abstain and let you guys all choose. But I'm of the mindset now to see all of the concepts that were talked about tonight that I personally am willing to vote to send this to the mayor and council for our belief, that is my belief, we're going to take a vote on it, that these 4 structures, or 2 or 1, 3, 2 or 1, we're going to vote on them in a minute, whether each individual or collectively, we'll get to that in a second. But my point is that I'm fine with supporting that, but I just want to let everybody know the ultimate decision is not up to us. We will decide tonight if it's worth demolishing, and then it would be immediately. But if we decide that it's worth preserving, that is, not just worth preserving, that we fully believe that the mayor and council, and this is the way it's written, will designate it. If we personally believe that, that's our right to do that. But in the end, it's not our decision, it's going to be the mayor and council's. So with that said, since we all spoke.
I actually do have
please,
some
let's do
questions.
Commissioners Open Forum. Just jump
Chris
right in.
Berger, I would like to ask you in particular a couple of things, and be patient with me because I have a point that's going to make a little bit of a circle. How long has city staff been aware of the Park Avenue project?
Approximately a year.
Okay, so, but in a year's time, the city staff did not decide to get an independent historical study on the site.
That's not our, well, they hired their consultant a year ago.
The reason why I ask is because I need to know, is the HDC now going to need a treasurer and funds so that we can pay to have these independent studies done?
No.
Or is it supposed to be
It
city
doesn't go that
staff
way.
that does that?
Here's how I understand it. Please,
I need to
you guys
understand
know
this.
backwards and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
What I understand is that if we consider it,
Yeah.
that we believe that the mayor and council will designate these individually, one or all, and we vote as such, then at that point in time, we are then saying that there will be, I think, a 6-month study. So there is a moratorium on the demolition.
Oh, okay.
Oh, let me finish though.
Okay.
But at the next meeting, the mayor and council can elect to consider our motion.
And they could overrule us.
Well, the way I understand it is the mayor and council can decide not to even consider our petition, which is what happened the last time.
Well, what they
correct?
did is they sent it back to us.
Send it back to us.
Right,
So,
yeah.
so that means that no more historical information will be gathered on those properties. Isn't that correct?
Oh, well, I'm not sure I understand your question, but let me just say that if we believe that one or more of these properties are worth, no, I'm sorry, if we believe that the mayor and council will vote that one or more of these will be worth designating.
Mm-hmm.
That is the test that we are voting on.
But we
All
are
this other stuff.
we're quasi-judicial.
Right.
And that means we need to look at evidence. And what I'm saying is all the evidence has not been presented this evening. And I need more evidence.
Okay.
And so, but to make a vote tonight, let's say, hypothetically, I said, okay, that these are interesting, they need further research, so we think maybe the mayor and council will agree with us. That doesn't make any sense. I feel like we're skipping a step.
No,
Let
that's
me-
not what's going on.
Let me address this.
Oh, thank you, John.
I believe that the chairman's right, that we're talking about these strictures of 231D, 2
Yeah.
and 3.
Mhm.
And this is why I said in my remarks that I think we have a reasonable probability of meeting those standards in 226.
Yeah.
And this is what's referred to the city council and the mayor.
Right.
We can only do what we can do. And I would propose we send it to them. And if they send it back, they send it back.
But I guess the question that I think you're trying to phrase is there a mechanism, is there a means for us to gather more evidence before we present it to the mayor and city
Which is
council?
what I wanted to say to you when you were, I thought, wrapping up. I think we do have the ability to say, to make a declaration that there is not enough information to make this decision. I think we've done that before. I think
Yeah.
it puts it off a month. The
Yeah.
decision puts it off a
And
month.
that's what I think we should do.
Yeah,
Right, 30
right,
days.
right,
That's
right.
in my
Because
personal opinion.
until we get that evidence, the city may.
We can say that it's not a complete application.
That's what I feel, but we're only doing a courtesy review, so I wasn't sure if that
Not a
fit.
courtesy
No,
review, we're not doing a courtesy review.
Oh, that's right,
The
that's
courtesy
right,
review
that's
is on the design, we're not touching that,
that's right.
which is something I wanted to mention for when you,
When I mentioned that, yeah.
Rudy, were saying is that we can't really, according to our own constitution here, we cannot consider whether these are being worthy of designation or not based on a future plan. It has nothing to do with our decision. We can't. We
No,
can
I just
hear
misspoke.
everything.
I didn't mean-
No.
yeah.
I'm not saying you. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
everybody here in this room believes that that's a factor, but it is not, as far as I understand. We designate these individual buildings, and Mark, you emphasized this, you brought this out, which is correct. It's only based on whether we believe that the mayor and council will designate these one or more as historic. That's our decision to make, and we could make that. We can also, I believe, correct me, Chris, if I'm wrong, we can say that this application is not complete because there is information we believe is missing.
Yeah.
I believe we
But-
have that opportunity.
But I guess if we do that, my question is, what is the mechanism to get the further information?
Well, that's us. We have to declare what information is missing.
Right, but who is going to obtain that? Is it the
That's-
applicant?
Who's
That's
gonna
the applicant,
pay,
absolutely. Right.
who's gonna pay for an independent?
That's a separate issue altogether.
That's what,
If we-
because
okay,
the
let me
applicant feels
address
like,
that.
the applicant
Let me
feels like
address
they
that.
presented.
Yeah,
it.
don't
Yeah.
Let me address that. Here's the thing, we're talking two separate things. If
Yeah.
it is the application that we are saying is not complete, well, that's the issue with the applicant.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to not just be arbitrary, we have to make statements as to what is missing in that application in order to vote on it. As such, we can't just say, well, we don't like it. Got to tell them what they need to provide to us in what you believe, or we believe is not a complete application. All right. Separate issue altogether is if we vote on this as being, in our belief, that the mayor and council will vote these, one or more of these, as worthy of designation, then at that point, there's two things that get triggered, and they're kind of the same. There's a 6-month study period that automatically gets triggered, and the city pays for that study. So all of that correct.
But what I'm trying to say is if the mayor and council have as little information as we have, why would they bother to accept our petition?
Well, here's what happens.
We need more information for them
Well,
too.
okay, that's like I said.
And I
there's
don't
two
want to
separate
do the
issues.
same thing we did last time. We need to make
The
it
same thing's
different
gonna
this time.
happen. Here's what I'm saying, is that these are two separate issues. One is, and we're gonna vote on this.
Yeah.
Is the application not complete? And we have that right to say, bring back the information to complete the application. You guys we have to determine and then vote on it. Completely separate is then the study period goes. And that is the mayor and council, that is automatically generated, that it'll be a 6-month study, and the city picks up the tab for that further information. But to answer your question, what then happens is then it goes to the mayor and council. They can elect, because they choose what they want to review, to whether or not that they believe, they can go right to the gate and say that we do believe or we do not believe, the city mayor and council, that any of these are worth designating. And that's what happened the last time. They send it then back to us. Then we get to vote on it again, whether or not we agree with their decision. That is, do we believe that we stick to our guns here and say that these are worth designating and the 6 months will occur? That's in our power.
Okay.
Now, what happened the last time was, I fully believe that there was absolutely no chance that that building or the other 4 buildings on that on that lot that we all believed was worth designated as a district. When I listened to their comments, there was, in my opinion, less than 0 chance that any of them would be overridden even after the 6 months. And if that occurs again, that is for our project right now, if they come back and they say there is, that all 5 of them or whatever, it's majority, but particularly the 5 of them, that there's no chance, then I will say what I said last time. At that point in time, if the mayor and council say there's no chance that these things will be designated, then at that point in time, we're just wasting the developer's time. We're causing him 6 months delay without, in the end, doing anything other than delaying it, because in the end, it's the mayor and council will say it's not worth designating, and they just wasted the developer's time. So I do not believe that that would be valuable to me, and I would not want to do that to the developer, as hard as it is to lose any buildings. I mentioned earlier today, my favorite thing is the tax credits. My least favorite thing is demolishing any buildings. But we have to follow what the law allows us to follow. We have to, define, has already defined. So we do have the ability, I believe, based on we've been doing this, most of us, for 12 years now, so we know, we've seen this stuff, what we're proposing to do, we've done it in the past. So we can vote on that we do not have any enough information. And then that's all we need to do tonight, if that's what you guys want to do.
Yeah, I think by saying, back to the applicant, we need further information, the applicant, I presume, will come back a month later saying, we've done the research and we'd already done this research and we have no more information to give. We can't find additional information potentially. At that point, are we just wasting a month when we all believe that it should, at this point, go to
I'm open to everything tonight. We're going to talk about it.
We should petition the city manager to.
Yes, sir.
If I could interject with
Yes.
with what I believe 24231 is saying. Right now, the commission has to decide whether or not to demolish or to issue the demolition permit or to determine whether there is a reasonable probability that the mayor and city council will deem this property historically significant. Now, my understanding of subsection D3, if the mayor and city council determines not to accept the petition of resolution, which is that 30-day, once you make the decision today, you have 30 days to submit a petition by resolution to the mayor and city council to designate historically these properties. Now, that petition, if the mayor and city council chooses to not accept it, the city manager may issue the demolition permit immediately.
Anyway,
so
right, that's
so
true.
what happens, practically speaking, is once you make the decision that there is a reasonable probability, I don't want to say forfeit, I don't think that's the best term, but you essentially punt the ball over to mayor and city council, and they have the option at that point, at that level, to issue the demolition permit, thereby waiving this commission's ability to discuss it further, if that makes sense.
It's all true. I mean, the concept is, it's really not our final decision. Our final decision tonight would be if we say it's not worth designating or that we don't believe that the mayor and council, and therefore we agree that it can be demolished, and that's the end of that, and they get demolished. But if we say that we believe the mayor and council, based on our understanding, would designate one or more of these, then we can vote on that, and then it does punt the ball down the road a bit. But that's better than just demolishing them if we believe that they're worth saving.
Yep.
But the key is, it's really the mayor and council's final decision, no matter what we say or do. But I would say that the last time around, they sent it back to us, and it was so crystal clear to me that they were not going to support designation, that it would, in my opinion, would be a waste of the 6 months. And there was no reason to it, because I don't think they would have changed. Now, there are different members of the mayor and council, or this has different factors than other buildings. Everything is different.
Yeah,
Each
that's what I was
project
going to say. I
is
think we have to
different
look at
on
this
its
by
own.
itself.
Exactly. So that's
True.
why like I said, I love the idea that this is democracy in action, because I will be changing my vote from abstain, because I didn't want to be, step on, go against you guys, to vote for the potential of being designated. And it's, I think that's the best it's certainly the best we can do if we're going to do that. But the other thought too is we do have the ability to, if we declare, and we have to give reasons for it, that it's not a complete application, then we can declare it and it won't come back to us until the next month. So is that, as you understand it too?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that that was.
May I say, Dean,
Yeah,
about
please.
that?
Yeah.
To look at the big picture, at least in a little way. The next month would give an opportunity for the applicant's hired historian to do some more digging, but it would also give the residents an
Exactly.
opportunity to voluntarily do some more digging.
Yeah.
Because, it's hard
It's a
to
good
have
point. It's a very
the
good
fox watch the chickens, basically. And, sorry, no disrespect intended, but you have your job, we have ours, and the community has their part in all of this. And so it would give us an opportunity to allow the time that
Absolutely. It's a
all of
great
us
idea.
need to get the information we need to make the right decision.
Right. There's emails.
In 30 days, in a year's time that you guys started this really isn't
There's the emails and
that
tax
much.
information that we know will come our way. They're
And then if we determine
tonight's.
after that they've been fully vetted, that would make me feel much more comfortable.
So if the commission is going to vote to defer the application for a certain time span, could we get specifics on exactly what you would like the applicant's
Exactly.
historian to look
I think we
into? I
have
know
to do that.
Vice Chair Roddy mentioned a former collection of nursing gear that was at, I believe, 15 Park Avenue.
Right.
I believe John Diamond's name was mentioned for 15 Avenue. Is there any additional
Yes, there is. The,
points of research? that
Isn't
could
there
help?
some
Myers.
items are supposed to be, you're supposed to get some email pictures of?
Israel and
Yeah.
Myers.
That I thought I read in the record.
Yeah, there's extensive information in the staff report on the Myers family, so I don't
But-
know
well,
what
I
more
thought that-
information you would want.
Well, I thought that they had items at the Baltimore Museum of Jewish
correct, yeah.
Heritage. I would imagine if we tapped into them to see, do they have anything further?
They don't. They have
They
4
do not?
items.
Just what I'm saying, in information, not the items, but
They
information.
gave us all the information they
Okay.
have.
All right.
The only information we can get additionally is photos of those items.
Okay.
So if that's something you would like, we can request that
Sure.
from the museum.
That would be good
but-
for the record anyway, right?
Do you know what those are?
I don't know, sorry.
Well, they're the kosher butcher's knife. But anyway, by all means, if they want photos, by all means, feel free. But I'm thinking of the heritage. I mean, his influence in this area. He was apparently the first Jewish commercial business in the CBD zone. And he did that for Gaithersburg and Rockville. That means every Jewish family who ate kosher ate from his work. And I just wonder, is there more significant information about him that we can find out about? Because to me, that's what the history of is all about. Is somebody like that person? So, or their work for sure. So,
So what's, like, specifically, if we're going to table this, so we're talking about the Nurses Museum. We're talking about if there's any further information on the mayor's.
the Myers.
Are we talking about additional information on the Diamond House? Like when that, if we can find out when
Well,
that
the diamond.
tax record versus the,
Right, well, we're gonna be receiving that, and so we can find out, at least we can see what it's all about, and see if there was any discrepancy between them owning just the land versus owning any built properties. And we're not saying any built properties, we're talking about
The specific
these
property.
4 built properties. Did they own any of them, not just the land?
But I also wanted to mention too, as John said, when I looked at our guidelines and the the standards, that many of these buildings check those off too.
Yeah,
And why
John
we have
said,
to
yeah.
hold them to the very highest possible standard is beyond me, but
Well, here's
I
the
know that
standard.
we've historically designated properties that have far less influence is what I mean.
It all, I'm glad John brought the details to the table, because that gives us the legal right to declare that we believe
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
worth designating. By the
Yeah.
way, thank you for that, because you're the only one who brought all that to the table. But that's the stuff that really matters. But in the end, the only thing that matters is, do we believe that the mayor and council, once we have all the information, will designate one or more of these properties? That's what it all comes down to.
Well, like us, they're quasi judicial as well, so.
They're the final authority, so
Yeah.
they're not.
is there any mechanism to have these properties annexed into the historic district?
If it was,
too.
it would be the mayor and council doing it.
Right.
As opposed to individually designating it?
I don't know if Assistant City Attorney Pearl has any thoughts on that.
On the annexation of
Yeah.
these
If the
properties?
district could be extended to include these properties, which would include properties that aren't subject to our discussion tonight
No, I know.
on Park Avenue.
As opposed to an individually designating them historical
Right.
historical
exactly.
sites. As far as 24231 is concerned, it states that, you can you can take into account and impose a historical designation on a site, groups of sites, or structures as far as extending the existing district to cover those properties. That particular section of the code is silent.
Okay.
But in the end, it's still the mayor and council's decision.
Correct.
No, yeah, definitely. I'm just curious
Yeah.
as a mechanism.
Yeah.
Because, I think everybody's in agreement that if these structures were within the historic district, it wouldn't be a question.
Right, true, but they're not. And that's where we were the last time with the Pink House and all those properties that I thought one after another were wonderful gems. But here's the thing, and I hate to do this to everybody, rain on everybody's parade, but can you bring up a photo, whoever is doing it, maybe tech team? There was Exhibit 4 on the front page. It was really the overview of the property.
Just an aerial?
It was the aerial. Well, it was like a it was like a drone shot.
You do have drone shots in the exhibits with
Yeah,
the
I can
photos.
say any drone shot that shows these 4 properties and Park Station. One of them there. That's perfect.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. This is what I'm trying to, I don't want to say grapple with, but this is what when I was saying there's 2 sides, they're opposed in my statements. Everybody knows why they're opposed. If you look at the left-hand side of this picture, it's Park Station Apartments. That shows that there is tremendous pressure to develop this land, to be more of that. That's the nature of cities, city planners, and the nature of the city's fathers, which is the mayor and council. The thing is that I'm an architect by trade, but I also have a degree in urban studies. And so I find myself to be an urbanist as well. I love urban structures. I love urban cities. And I've always said this, you guys have heard me say this many, many times, cities need to grow or they die. You need a tax structure to make cities grow. And so it's most likely that the mayor and council will have a great desire to bring in, instead of, to bring in new development and trade for tax payments for 200. And it helps support stuff.
But that's not our purview.
No, it's not, but what I'm
I have a
saying is,
question
I'm saying that, will they, and I'm voting to, I will vote to send this to the mayor and council to save these, but I'm just saying that I think that there is a tremendous pressure for them for this. We will find that out.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not.
I
That's
have
all
a
I'm saying.
question and clarification. Is this just apartment buildings? Because your
Yeah, they're
testimony
mostly
is
apartments.
mostly.
It doesn't
Is
matter.
it mixed use? You're going to have commercial?
There's a little commercial shop.
It doesn't matter, though.
It's not within the scope of review for tonight.
Okay, it's not.
Yeah, none of
Okay.
that is. Our only review is, do we believe the mayor
I'm
and
kind of
council?
curious. That's.
The only review that we are allowed to have by the law is, the Gaithersburg law, is do we believe the mayor and council will designate one or more of these? That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, I agree with you. Looking at this particular image here, you see commercial on the left side, and you see that the intention here is to gravitate towards that side. But then, and we all like change, but you don't want to lose your character in changing. You want to maintain some of the character. You just want just a flip. You want to maintain some of the character. And I think that open area and those buildings, 9, 15, I mean, they have a lot of character. I love 15. Just looking at it, I want to move in.
You know,
I'm in agreement.
And so again, you want to maintain some of the character. You want diversity. You just don't want anything. You don't want to just impose a lot of mass.
I'm in agreement with
In an
everything you're
area,
saying,
so
but in the
it's-
end,
it's-
we can only vote on one thing.
Yeah.
Do we believe the mayor and council will consider one or more of these as designatable? That's all it comes down to. I'm just saying,
can we
that's the law.
Or if
vote
there is a
to-
reasonable probability that they will.
Reasonable probability, yes,
Can
sir.
we
Well,
vote-
that's just it. We do believe, we will, and if we vote this in,
Yeah.
it will be because we formally believe there's a reasonable probability. Not that there will be 100%, but we believe
Right.
there's a probability. So that's a good point. I agree with you there. But
But we
that's,
don't have to
in
do-
the end, the same thing. It doesn't change anything. It's up to them.
Well, we don't have to do both tonight. We could.
Yes, just
And I
to-
think we're all saying we'd like more information.
But you have to, let's
So
say
the
it, but yes.
only vote we'll be doing is that the application does not have enough information for us. In specific, we want more information about the properties, especially the ones that we have a little bit about right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do we have enough specificity in what we're asking for, Chris?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know if we want to ask the applicant's historian. Is there any more information that you would need? And I'll certainly help coordinate some of these requests.
So what I have right now is you're looking for more information on the diamonds with regard to whether or not they lived at the property prior to the Myers family.
That's one.
I believe we want to see more information on each one of the four
I just want to make sure I
structures.
understand.
But yes, that is correct, but I would say continue that down on each of the houses. I mean, there, more information that you can give us, more information that the public can give us, essentially will help us on our decision, but ultimately.
But I think we need specific things for.
Right, so that's one of them, so be more specific, guys, just tell us what you need.
Well, I'm going to hear the rest of his list.
And then I have, Mayor McBain was mentioned, and he did own the property at 11. He built 11 and 13 together. There is no evidence that he resided at that property. So we found, yes, he did own it. He built it, but he never resided there as far as we could tell. Which is why, and that's noted in the letter report, and we left it at that. With the Myers and Sachs families, the information, I don't know if I'd be able, that was pretty exhaustive. I contacted MHT, I went through the Maryland room at Frederick County Library. There are books specifically on the history of Gaithersburg and Montgomery County that Chris recommended. We did research those. I did come across some information on the Sherwoods and the Nurses Museum, but again, having a museum of nursing, does that then, while it's interesting, it's an interesting story, does that then make that property elevated to the property itself, or the owner influencing society. The highlighting nurses for sure influence society, but did that woman who ran the museum, is that influencing the society of Gaithersburg to that level? And so in the time constraints we had, information that didn't necessarily support the report or support that was deemed valuable or was left out. So I can include that. I don't know how much more on other individuals I'll be able to glean. So then my question then is if you come back and give me a list, and then in a month we come back and say, this is what we have, where are we then?
I think at that point, like we were talking about, there's two reasons for doing this. One is to get more information if you can glean it, but two, it's given the opportunity for the community to get more information as well, and if they can present that as well to us in that month's time, they may have, they have other methods that you're not privy to in terms of knowing some of the history, and they can present that, and at that point, that may inform us at that time. So I think both of those methods will hopefully make our decision a lot easier, and then ultimately, I think it will provide more information to the mayor and city council.
Well, I agree with everything you just said, and thank you. I mean, I understand your dilemma. Mostly, it's like you've done an exhaustive search. I know that just by hearing what you said, and you may not have anything extra, but I do know at least two documents are coming our way just from tonight's residents who come and said that we've got emails and we've got tax structures and stuff like that. So I I believe we'll be getting more information from them as well. So that'll help us. It would be nice if we can get more information from a professional who does this for a living. So, but in the end, I think it'll give us more of what we're hoping to get, because it sounds as if several commissioners here think that there's a lot of information they don't have yet. So, all right. So, any other thoughts? We're still round robin from the commission. You guys want to throw in anything else before we go to a vote to do something, which I believe sounds like It sounds like we're going to be making a statement that there's not enough, that the application is not complete, and we need the following. So, well, first, let's ask then, say aye if you think that the application is not complete and we need further information. Say aye.
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 I'll abstain. All right, that passes 4 to 0 to 1. All right, so now let's have a motion to declare that this application is lacking some information, and we have to put in
The specific information.
specifics. Yes. So,
Very
can
good.
somebody please have a motion?
I would like to. I just want to see if I can. Just want to find the H. There it is.
SP.
SP, thank you. Okay, so I move that we postpone, make a decision on the application SP 9149-2021 until next month's meeting so that we can obtain more information in order to make a decision.
Which is as follows.
Which is as follows. And could each of you...
Information specific to the museum on nursing is one. Information specific to whether the diamonds actually resided inside one of these properties. I forget which address.
15 Park
15. And I guess third was
The Myers.
The Myers. What specifically were we asking about the Myers?
Well, I want to know how much influence they had, because to me, they did have significant influence on the Jewish community, clearly. Is there any more information along those lines? Like, is there anything else that they did? Because there was a husband and wife, I think, Anne and Israel. Is there anything else that they did to contribute to the community? Which may not be anything more than we need to know, because they were clearly the go-to, he was the go-to person for all the kosher food. That's in Gaithersburg and Brockville. That's nothing to discount. So,
Okay.
And I also want a clarification on the Diamond family and whether they did or didn't live there.
I think that's what
That's
we
what we
asked
said, yeah.
already.
Yeah.
All right.
And in nursing, how about the nursing?
That was
said
already
that.
addressed.
That's in
Anything else, you guys?
Pretty much, I would just like to see all 4 properties vetted in a more substantial way.
Okay, is there anything else anyone wants to add to the motion?
No.
Second?
second.
Okay, all those in favor, I'm going to go through the list. Aye if you support the motion, nay if you don't, abstain if you wish. Commissioner Feinstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Commissioner Roddy.
Aye.
Commissioner Alphonse.
Aye.
Commissioner Ventola says aye. So you have our request to complete the application with those items. And if the members of the residents of the city want to provide us any further information, we will certainly welcome it and review it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody, for
Thank
your
you.
patience. Okay, so that passed 5-0. Motion passes. All right, next then is from city staff. Chris, do you have anything you want to add?
I have nothing more to add.
All right, Greg's not here. Eric, would you like to add anything?
Nothing more.
All right. Anything from the commissioners? Mark?
No, not at this time.
All right, Rudy?
Nope.
John?
Nope.
Mary Jo?
No.
And I don't as well. And so we are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody.